Good morning, good evening, good night. Wherever you may be watching this transmission, I'd like to welcome you all to Trends in the Housing Market. Yes, it is Trends in the Housing Market. The date today is November 7th, 2019. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. And Owen is in the house. He sent me a link which I'll be reading later on in the show for you guys. And Owen's bidding me good evening, and good evening, Owen, in the house. And we got a good show lined up today. If the internet doesn't act up today, or because YouTube likes to allocate its resources to real channels. So I got a letter from a real estate agent today that I want to read to you guys from Australia, and quite a few things brewing up in the markets that is causing this housing market to, let's say, take a dead cat bounce again, or a rebound. Is housing going back up? Everything's unaffordable for the average wage worker. Even the high wage workers. The high wage workers, the people making real bank, they're all moving to the United States. A majority of them are moving to the United States. Plain and simple. No questions asked, no debate. And we're going to have people rolling into the comments section here. No one's probably going to get this notification. So I really hope that people out there get the notification. If they don't, I need people to share. It shows I have 0 people watching. 0 people watching now. I'm not sure if I'm down. I wonder what the visa process is like if you're going to move to the States. Well, Owen, didn't you say you have family there? I can't remember if you told me you had family there. I wasn't too sure. Because you're a Red Seal electrician, you just apply to a company and get them to do your paperwork. You should be fine. You should be fine. Just tell them you'll pay for the paperwork and you'll work for them for a couple of years and just. A good electrician down in Georgia is, you do have family. Yeah, there's a way in. There's a will, there's a way, buddy. I know you want out. Everybody wants out. Real Kevin Thompson, woo, in the house. Welcome to Trends in the Housing Market with Real Kevin Thompson. This isn't a real Trends in the Housing Market without the Real Kevin Thompson in the comments. Put your hands up if you agree with me. Good. Thank you. Real Kevin Thompson in the house. Man, Real Kevin Thompson, let me tell you, man, that he's been on the show for I don't know how many years now, and he's made so much progress in the last couple of years. Solid Extra, thank you for joining me on Patreon. Hi, Mike. Thanks for the lead in Canada's water video. Apparently, half of London, Ontario's water tests fail. Kevin Thompson, prices are going up again. Agreed, said Owen. Hi, Mike. Hi, Real Kev. So Belinda from Florida's in the house, and we got Layla in the house. People are starting to roll in to Trends in the Housing Market. Guys, you guys know I always try to be on time for you guys. Always on time. So you guys got to check your time, just like you did back in the day. When you're watching a cable syndicated television show, remember back in the day, you'd put your alarm on your wristwatch so you don't forget your show? Well, with YouTube, you got to do that because they don't send out notifications. Unless I'm pouring gravy down my pants, they'll send everybody a notification, right? Okay. What is going on? Well, I got a letter from a realtor that I want to read for you guys. It's really nice. And I got an article here that Owen sent me that he wants me to cover. We got Jordan Retro in the house. Woo! Gravy notification, baby. Said Donald G in the house, too. Joining us tonight. All right, here it is, guys. This was, it's a LinkedIn article. The world has gone mad and the system is broken. By Ray Dalio. The world has gone mad and the system is broken. I say these things because money is for free for those who are creditworthy because the investors who are giving it to them are willing to get back less than they give. You see, this guy has to be Canadian because usually when I'm reading, if it's somebody like from America or Canada, I could read well. But when it's from Australia, it's a little bit different sometimes, you know? More specifically, investors lending to those who are creditworthy will accept very low or negative interest rates and won't require having their principal paid back for the foreseeable future. They are doing this because they have an enormous amount of money to invest that has been and continues to be pushed on them by the central banks that are buying financial assets in their futile attempts to push economic activity and inflation up. The reason that this money that is being pushed on investors isn't pushing growth and inflation much higher is that the investors who are getting it want to invest it rather than spend it. Oh yeah, we're getting somewhere here. The dynamic is creating a pushing on a string dynamic. You can't push on a string, guys, but yes, that's the dynamic they're creating. That has happened many times before in history. Thought not in our lifetimes, though not in our lifetimes, and was thoroughly explained in a book, Principles for Navigating Bad Debt Crisis. As a result, for this dynamic, the prices of the financial asset have gone way up. The future expected returns have gone way down. While economic growth and inflation remain sluggish, these big price rises and results low expected returns that are not true for bonds. They are equally true for equities, private equity, and venture capital, though these assets' low expected returns are not as apparent as they are for bond investments, because those equity-like investments don't have stated returns the way bonds do. That's why the bond market's almost at zero, right? And they're going to go to negative, right? As a result, their expected returns are left to investors' imaginations because the investors have so much money to invest, and because of the past success stories of stocks and revolutionary technology companies doing so well, more companies than at any time since the dot-com bubble don't have to make profits or even have to clear paths to making profits to sell their stock because they can instead sell their dreams to investors who are flush with money and borrowing power. There is now so much money wanting to buy these dreams that in some cases, venture capital investors are pushing money onto startups that don't want more money because they already have more than enough. But the investors are threatening to harm these companies by providing enormous support to their startup competitors if they don't take the money. This pushing money onto investors is understandable because these investment managers, especially venture capital and private equity investment managers, now have piles of committed and uninvested cash they need to invest in order to meet their promises to their clients to collect their fees. Well, this is really long here. So let's see what gets to some key points. At the same time, large government deficits exist and will certainly increase substantially, which will require huge amounts more debt to be sold by governments. Amounts cannot naturally be absorbed without driving up interest rates at a time when the interest rate rise would be devastating for markets and economies because the world is so leveraged long. Where will the money come from to buy these bonds and fund the deficits? It will almost certainly come from central banks. Who's funding the central banks? The taxpayers. The taxpayers. The taxpayers, of course, are going to bail out the central banks. It will almost certainly come from central banks, which buy the debt is produced with freshly printed money. This whole dynamic in which sound finance is being thrown out the window will continue to probably accelerate, especially for the reverse currency countries, their currencies, i.e. in the US and Europe and Japan, and in the dollar, euro, and yen. And then pension and liability payments will increase, becoming due, while many of these who are obligated to pay them don't have enough money to meet their obligations. Right now, many pension funds that have investments that are intended to meet their pension obligations use assumed returns that are agreed with their regulators. They are typically much higher, around 7 points, than the market returns that are built into pricing and that are likely to be produced. Wow. As a result, many of those who have obligations to deliver the money to pay these pensions are unlikely to have enough money to meet their obligations. That's a big problem. At the same time, money is essentially free for those who have money and credit worthiness. It is essentially unavailable for those who don't have the money and credit worthiness, which contributes to the rising wealth, opportunity, and political gaps. Also contributing to these gaps are the technological advances that investors and entrepreneurs that are previously mentioned are excited by it in ways but I described, and then also replace workers with machines, because the trickle-down process of having money at the top trickle down to workers and others by improving their earnings and credit worthiness is not working. The system of making capitalism work well for most people is broken. The set of circumstances is unsustainable and certainly no longer be pushed as has been pushed since 2008. That is why I believe that the world's approaching a big paradigm shift. So we've been saying this on the channel, big paradigm shift here in the financial world. Now, what does this have to do with housing? Everything. Everything. Why? Because it's the big players. The big players that have it already are the ones that are whistling Dixie. Okay, guys, I have something here, guys. I have a letter which I would like to share to you guys from a real estate agent living out of Australia. And I want to share this with you guys. It's a beautiful story. I hope you guys like it. It's a beautiful email. Let me just see here. Guys, I'm getting really bad connection here. I'm not sure why, but I'm getting a terrible connection here. So, real Kevin Thompson in the house. Like I said, this is not a real Trends in the Housing Market without Kevin Thompson. And yes, he's talking to a detective in the comments there. Okay, guys, we have here an email. And I would like to share this with you guys because it's very nice. It's really nicely written, too. Okay. Let me just take a breath here. Woo! Okay. Hi, Mike. You're right and wrong. So this is coming from a real estate agent in Australia. Hi, Mike. You're right and wrong. I'm a realtor living in Australia, and I've been watching you for a while now. And yes, we are selling out our country. I'll give you that much. One thing I have, that you don't is money and power. I throw lavish parties and we celebrate wealth in real estate all the time with family and friends. You sit at home and cry about not having any money or true wealth. It's losers like you that have missed the boat. You've been telling people the wrong thing all these years. And for the people that are bought out of the market for the last 7 years, too bad, your loss. Mike, you are a very delusional person and have no idea what you're talking about. We are making our brochures now in Mandarin and Cantonese, and our tour buses are ready to welcome all the new wealth into New South Wales. And when I'm driving in my new Mercedes, I think of people like you with no clue in the world on how you lost your reality. So this is what the email I got here. My favorite part is when he's saying, been watching yes. And yes, we are selling out our country. I'll give you that much. You know, so he's basically agreeing to basically selling out his country. But at what cost? You know what I'm saying? At what cost? Yes, Antonio? Daddy's doing a show. Okay, I'm going to let my kids in. That's what happens when you're a family guy. Oh, you got chocolates? Okay, go sit down. Go sit down. What is this? So, my kids are visiting me now. And that's the No, I told you, just leave that for Daddy. That's Daddy stuff, okay?
This bubble.
Yeah. Take that upstairs.
Okay, I want to play that.
Alright, take it upstairs. Alright. Yeah, alright, bye. Take it upstairs, guys. Don't make a noise here. Come on.
I'm not popping it.
Okay, alright. Anyways, so my kids are visiting. They always come and check on me. Know why? Dump your money on an overpriced home, tie yourself down with debt, and live happily ever after? No, price houses are severely... Guys, you have to go upstairs. Daddy's doing a show, okay? Alright, come on. Go upstairs. I know, I like it. I'll leave it here. Go upstairs. Fecha a porta. Yeah, go. Come on. Fecha a porta. Okay. Take it upstairs. Fecha a porta. Close the door. Fecha a porta. That's what happens when you got a family and you try to run a live show in the evening. Okay. David Gay is in the house. Yeah, man. David Gay is in the comments. Yeah, Kev Mortgage is a death trap. Urban off-gridding Australia looking for an affordable block that is now drought affected within about 2 hours of the CBD. Gary Madeir's in the house. Real Kevin Thompson, home ownership was the best decision I ever made. So a lot of people joining the show right now. So I'm going to reread this. It's a really short clip. So if you heard this already, don't panic. Hey, Mike. So this is an email from a real estate agent in... This is from a real estate agent from Australia. Hey, Mike, you're right and wrong. I'm a realtor living in Australia, and I've been watching you for a while now. And yes, we are selling out our country, I'll give you that much. One thing I have that you don't is money and power. This guy sounds like he's Scarface. First, you got to get the money, then you got the power, and then you get the women. Okay? Try to tell that to a MGTOW nowadays. I throw lavish parties, and we celebrate the wealth in real estate. So what? Now you're the Great Gatsby now? You throw all these lavish parties like the Great Gatsby? You sit at home and cry about not having money or true wealth. It's losers like you that have missed the boat. Yeah. You've been telling people the wrong things all these years. And for people that haven't bought into the market for the last 7 years, too bad, your loss. Mike, you are a delusional person and have no idea what you are talking about. We are making brochures in Mandarin and Cantonese and tour buses to welcome all the new wealth into New South Wales. And when I'm driving my new Mercedes, I think of people like you with no clue in the world on how you lost your reality. How you're lost to reality. I don't know what that means there at the end. So, delusional Mike. Yeah! So, guys, I get a lot of this stuff here. A lot of this stuff here from real estate agents who know what it is. Yeah. All right, guys, let's move on. And this is while I'm all riled up. Let's go to the channel news here real quick under housing here. Housing crisis. Australian realtors want more Chinese. That's an article we're going to cover tonight. Toronto condos ripoff. Guys, go right now. Go right now and share this video while it's live. Share it to your stream. Get people in here. Toronto condo ripoff. Australian low interest rates are good. This one's a good one. It's got Kangaroo Jack on it. And Canadians piling on more debt. Unsecured secondary mortgage defaults going on. China has solved its housing issue. Escape expensive Toronto and Vancouver. I got a picture of Snake Plissken here. To escape expensive Toronto. So we got people saying, David Gay, women don't really care about resources these days anymore. They make their own. The ones that still do are trash. You don't need them. Layla Lay says men are the ones who power and money with ones with power and money. Everything they do demonstrates that loud and clear. You attract what you are. Freedom Runner says, Mike, I just subscribed. Thank you very much. Jeff Lazaro Salazar here says, it's Mike in the Night here in Arizona. I got Mike in the Night. Woo! In Arizona. Are you in Tucson, Phoenix? Where are you, man? Okay, so the comments are going. Oh, God. Got a new Mercedes. Woo! Ian says, I'm guessing the takeaway message tonight is just get the hell out of the real estate market. Talk about Lower Mainland, says Nathan. Urban off-gridding, do you have a backup plans to leave Australia if it gets bad? I'm not sure. I'm not sure who takes in Australians, like, in huge numbers. Like, I know there's some countries, like, for me, because I'm a Portuguese, there's like 7, 8 countries I can move to. No questions asked, no debates. They speak Portuguese. I don't have to worry. They're Catholic. I don't have to worry. But for me, like, the English, the Commonwealth is finished. It's done. So, okay. Jeff Celcero is in Phoenix. Yeah. And SB is in Whistler, I guess. Someone's asking when the housing market will crash in California. That's a very good question. Anything that's going more and more liberal will get more and more funding. So it's going to get to a point, it's going to start with your car, where you're not going to own your car anymore. You'll make payments on it, but you'll never own it because they're going to fix it for you when it breaks down. So you'll never have, and then they're going to take away the houses. Yeah. So we got Martin Zikov from Saudi Arabia. So Rainier Molo says, in one of my friend's accounting firms, there's clients that make less than $15,000 are getting audited. Huge spike in audits is because of the budget deficits. Yep. Cities are suffering, and cities cannot cover their nut. And price of housing is going down in some cities, and it's hurting the bottom line. All right, guys, so check out this article when you get some time. The world has gone mad, and the system is broken by Ray Dalio. Let's move on. So this is the story of the night. This is a big deal, guys. You guys have no idea how big this is. This is a huge problem, okay? I'm just reading the comments here. I'm sorry. Okay, so here it is, guys. Chinese buyers are getting ready to flock back into Australia's cheap property market, with one city emerging as their clear favorite. So I covered this story this morning because this is crucial, because this may extend the housing crisis in Australia. Be Australian proper, or like this. Whichever one you prefer. It's over. If they're not in the market now, yeah. Raven saying they are looking at cutting the police pensions in Winnipeg. Oh, they have to. What are you talking about? How did they install those 40,000 cameras in Manitoba? 50,000 cameras to watch everything you do. So here it is, guys. This is it. This is the nail in the coffin right here. Chinese have ranked Australia as their #1 destination to buy property, with 27% of tourists telling Chinese portal Jiawei they'll consider buying property on their next overseas trip. Of the Australian cities, Melbourne was ranked by almost half of Chinese buyers as their top pick, Sydney and Brisbane, with Brisbane singled out for its more affordable market. After a couple of years of declining Chinese activity in the market, renewed interest could lead a boom in prices, with depreciation of the Australian dollar securing an 11.1% discount for Chinese buyers. Of the 1.2 million Chinese tourists visiting Australia every year, as many as a quarter could be looking to buy property here, and new study suggested. I visited Mexico 4 times. I lived there for 2 years. I try to buy property there. I even speak friggin' Mexican. Yo hable mexicano, güey. Como un pinche norteño. Entonces, no podría comprar una pinche casa. Estoy muy enojado. Porque me gustaría tener una casa de descanso. Anyways. So, and all that stuff. And I'm Catholic the whole 9 yards. Right? And you go in, they left you out of the property. You can't buy property in Mexico. Are you crazy? You're a foreigner. And, that's just how it is. And I said it earlier in a video, Mexico will be Mexico in 100 years. Why? Because the people that live there are Mexican. You got it? Canada, I don't know what it's going to be because the people living here aren't Canadian anymore. So what is this? Yeah, 99-year lease in Mexico. Jeff, Salcedo. Jeff, ¿tú bailas salsa, güey? ¿Tú bailas salsa? Just wondering if Jeff dances salsa. I know how to dance salsa and merengue and bachata. Anyways, I'm not going off topic here. But I want to tell you guys what's going on here. So this is it. Jef a Salcedo. Okay. All right, guys. So here's the deal here. As many as 27% of mainland Chinese said they would be shopping for a property on their next overseas holiday, according to this survey by Property Portal Jiawei. Of those, Australia is their number one international destination to buy, as rocketing inquiries set up a possible resurgence in foreign buyer activity. Chinese buyer inquiries have posted 2 consecutive quarters of year-over-year growth for the first time since 2016, the report said. In the first quarter, Chinese demand was up 40% compared to a year earlier. That followed a 54% gain in the fourth quarter. Someone's asking, should I move from Canada to Texas or Florida? You know what, Nathan? It depends on your age. How old are you, buddy? Are you married? Do you have 3 kids? Like, what's the deal? Are you, like, put it in the comments. I'll let you know where to move. Yeah, 21. Okay, are you married or what's the deal? Okay, Real Kevin Thompson said that's like 10 units in Toronto. So here it is. So this is pretty bad, guys. You know, and I'm going to tell you guys straight up. I don't have anything against Chinese people. I don't have anything against anybody. I really don't care. What I care about is the whole communist aspect of things. I'm scared of the whole communist thing. Even though we're all headed towards socialism, we're all headed towards communism, we're all on a slippery slope there right now, as we speak. But I'm not a fan of it, right? I'm not a fan of the whole I'm not a fan of Muslims and Christians and all these people being persecuted for their religious beliefs. Like, I'm not a fan of all this stuff that they're doing. The whole 5G thing, the Big Brother watching you, the whole 5G rolling out. There's no dark spot in China. Anywhere you go in China, you're being watched. And what they're doing to Hong Kong, I'm not like the NBA. I'm not going to retract and say sorry, because I stand for Hong Kong. I believe that there needs to be some sort of good out there to combat the evil, right? Oh, Mike, you're being a racist saying the Chinese are evil. Their intentions are. The ruling party's intentions are bad. They're constantly saber-rattling, and they're destroying the Commonwealth. And we had a good thing going on here for a lot of it. For a long time. Steve Stevens says it's a multicultural hellhole in the center. The outskirts are great, though. Glenn is asking me, does Merritt have 70% phone zombies like Vancouver? Nah. It's not like this here. Here it's a small town. You got kids going to school. They're all talking. You have people riding bikes. This morning I saw tons of people riding bikes this morning to work. You know, it was a nice morning, right? We don't have it like a bus system, like a transit system where people are just sitting there like this at bus stops. Like, I mean, we have, I think, a bus stop or 2 or 3 here. You probably see an old person sitting there once in a blue moon. And the bus just takes you around the whole town and comes back. You can sit on the bus pretty much the whole day and take a tour of the town. Okay, 21, you got to move to Miami, buddy. Nathan, you have to move to Miami. If you are 21, Miami's for you at this age. If you said you were 33 and you have a wife, I would move to Fort Worth, Texas. But I would go to Miami. And Rainier Mole is typing something in French. Stevie Stevens is saying, it seems different to Toronto. Ian Townsend is saying, with communism, there is no such thing as individual rights whatsoever. People don't know what they're giving away. Then it affects the workplace. Glenn is saying, SkyTrain should be renamed Stare at Your Phone Train. Yeah. Yeah. And then when somebody does look at you in Vancouver, when I'm in Vancouver, in the city of Vancouver, I'm in my car, I stop at a red light, I look over to the guys like to see what's going on. The guy looks at me like this. It's like, whoa! I get on the elevator. I get on the elevator. And then people look at me like this. It's like, whoa! Man, if I went to downtown Detroit and I try to pull that in downtown Detroit, let's say at a local gas station in downtown Detroit, and I'm down there outside the gas station, and people drive in, and I do this to them, I wouldn't live much longer. I'd probably, maybe 2-3 people, I would probably get my head smashed in. But that's just how it is in other places, right? But in Vancouver, you get the Vancouver glare. Anyways, Australians' housing market takeoff is not helping the economy. It sure is. This real estate agent that sent me this email about a Mercedes. They should be helping the economy. So we got French going on here in the comment section. Ah, here we go. Solid Extra. Thank you, Solid Extra, for being my new Patreon supporter. Saying, the reason I don't think a U.S. Civil War will ever happen again is because people are too lazy and uninformed. Let alone the fact that the Civil War and revolution was well funded. Yeah, for sure. That Solid Extra has a strong point there. Then he says, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and Thomas Jefferson were the 3 richest people in the continent at the time. Very true. And then Sadiq Omar says, all real estate agents are liars. Layla says that there's a glare in Toronto as well, if you get what glare is. And then Kevin Thompson. And then Owen says, the younger generation is so messed up. I watched this Pager U video on YouTube, and they asked all the kids on campus, how many genders are there? None of them said male or female. Grey Poupon. Yeah, we're talking about Grey Poupon now in the comment section. All right, so let me reread this this email here that I received from, we got 91 people watching, from a real estate agent from Australia, is laying down the law to me. Say hello to my little friend. Let's put up, say hello to my little friend. There we go.
You want to flick it? Come on. Okay. Say hello to my little friend. Play rough. Okay. Say hello to my little friend.
All right, let's move on here. So let's read the email. Let's read the email. This is really good, guys. Hi, Mike. You're right and wrong. I'm a realtor living in Australia and been watching you for a while now. And yes, we are selling out our country. I'll give you that much. One thing I have you don't one thing that I have that you don't is money and power. Hold on.
Okay. Do you want to play rough? Okay. Uno. Say hello to my little friend.
I throw lavish parties and we celebrate the wealth in real estate. You sit at home and cry about not having money or true wealth. It's losers like you that have missed the boat. You've been telling people the wrong thing all these years, and for the people that bought out of the market for the last 7 years, if you missed the market basically in the last 7 years, too bad, your loss. Mike, you are a very delusional person. Hold on, play this again.
Okay. Do you want to play rough? Okay. Uno. Say hello to my little friend.
You've been telling people the wrong thing all these years. For people that are that, your loss. Mike, you are a very delusional person and have no idea about what you are talking about. We are making brochures in Mandarin and Cantonese and tour buses to welcome our new wealth into New South Wales. And when I'm driving in my new Mercedes, I think of people like you with no clue in the world on how you're lost to reality. I don't know what that. Andre Nicotina saying, yeah, he sure told you, Mike. Hold on, right here. Let's put this back here. This is the real estate agent to me. Look.
Okay. Do you want to play rough? Okay. Uno. Say hello to my little friend.
All right. Say hello to my little friend. All right. There's a lot of friends. There's a lot of French in the holy crap. Prices are up, Gary. And Andrew says, LOL, he sure told you, Mike. Then Glenn is telling me, study spiral dynamics. And then there's French, and then not really, still below a decade numbers. That's true. Gary Medeiros is right. Trevor Elliott comments from a big shot. I know. It's like, he's Scarface, you know what I'm saying? Woo! Probably not a good clip to play. And then Raven saying, your social credit score is crashing. You want to play rough? All right. We'll save that for Mike in the Night. We'll save the soundboard for Mike in the Night. Harlip is saying, talking to people of all walks of life, right or wrong, makes this show interesting. I know, we're getting French in here. I can't even speak French. At least in Spanish or even Portuguese, man. All right, so Australia's housing market takes off, not helping. Let's get Stephen. I gotta get Stephen Thomas on here. I gotta get Stephen Thomas on here. I don't know what the hell is going on here. Where the hell is this guy? I gotta get this guy from Melbourne. I need this guy on the show. He's got a really scratchy voice, guys. But let's see what he says, because we need this guy on here. We need this guy. Let's see if we. I don't know. I think he's on lunch right now, but we'll give him a call because right now it's Thursday at lunchtime or 2 p.m. in Melbourne, Australia. Let's see if we can get this guy on the show to find out what the heck is going on down under, because it's out of control. He's not picking up. He's not picking up. I just need to know what the heck is going on down there. Who else do I got here? German. Oh, I got a message from Globetrotter Mike. I'll read it later. What the hell? Here. This guy right here. He's from... This Saturday is Mike and then... Alright, let's get this guy on. Luke. Pick up Luke. Come on, it's trends in the housing market. You should be watching this. But no one got the notification. Guys, this is bad. This is really, you have no idea how bad this is. It's an economic takeover. It's an economic war. It's a takeover. We are losing. Why? Because we don't have no funny money to keep up with the Joneses. Okay, who else is here? Who else is here from Australia? What else do I got here? Man, come on, who I got here from Australia? Who's awake? And Owen saying, may God bless all of us. Yes. Yeah, I think Kevin Thompson is a realtor. Everybody knows that already. I had Steve on the phone today. He was pretty feeling down, you know what I'm saying? I talked to him for a bit today, and I think I talked to him yesterday too. So, you know, it's a lot going on. Man, I'm trying to get anybody on from Australia here. There's a lot of people from Australia, but no one's on right now. I got to get Stephen Thompson on. Liberty Returns, Mike. I don't think they will be able to keep the bubble going another year from now. What do you think? It depends. It depends, Liberty Returns. It might. If they get more foreign cash in, right? The Commonwealth are competing for rich Chinese investors to prop up the markets. If they could get, like right here, look, it says right here, 27% of tourists visiting Australia said they will buy property, okay? And how many tourists? 1.2 million. That's like 30,000 people. Foreign money going into an economy. Of course that's going to prop it up. Yeah. Guys, this is pretty bad. I'm not going to tell you guys, but this is a pretty bad thing. Okay, let's move on here. Let's move on. I got to get out of Australia. It's depressing the crap out of me. Okay, here's the massaging I've been talking to you guys about. They're massaging that poverty is normal. Why? Look at this. Children's book about food banks is a grim sign of our failure as society. Britain's first picture book about families going hungry is an urgent reminder of the issues at the heart of this election. Guys, when they're making children's books, it's a no money day. When they're making children's books to massage people and children at a young age to understand that it's normal to go hungry and it's normal to go to a food bank and it's normal that you're not making money, we got ourselves a problem. Because after I die off and there's no one to pass the torch on to tell people how things are and the way things should be, because I lived in that, I'm like Uncle Rico. You know Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite? I'm still living in 1982. Oh, Glenn Meditation said that's 300,000, not 30,000. Yeah. So, okay, I'm sorry. 30,000 is a lot. 300,000 is pretty much, it's about 6.8% of the city of Melbourne. That's about 6.8% of the housing supply they have there. So that's quite a bit of territory being handed over, right? Man, there's lots of French going on here. See, there's a bilingual channel, guys. Guys, when they're making books to tell people that it's okay, that children's books about food banks, guys, I don't understand, guys. It's just massaging the next generation into it's just, I just wish people could see the severity of this. I just wish people could understand how dangerous this is. This is so dangerous. It's a No Money Day is the name of the book. Is narrated by a daughter who sees how her mother worries over every penny while shielding her from the painful stuff. There's no more cereal, so I have the last piece of toast. Luckily, Mom isn't hungry, the girl says. And you know, the biggest thing Mom will have for breakfast is her own little white lie. When they reach the food bank, the child tucks into biscuits and squash, while her mother sags like a balloon from which the air has escaped. This is training the children that basically being hungry is normal and not having money is normal and not, yeah. Australian housing and mini boom, but signs bleak elsewhere in the economy. So housing is doing well, but what's going to happen when there's no Australians living in Australia anymore? When all of them are forced out? That's scary. Better dwelling. Canadian households see interest rates drop, but the trend is still higher. Toronto real estate prices made their second largest monthly October jump in over 10 years. Hey, congratulations. Yeah, put a bench. So we got Gary Madero saying that's my business, not yours. Oh man, what the hell's going on in the comments there, guys? You guys behaving yourselves there? What's going on? Are you guys behaving yourselves? You guys better be behaving yourselves in the comment section. Canadian households are piling into more mortgage debt even as consumer debt slows. That's a very dangerous inversion when getting into more debt, but consumer debt is slowing down. That's dangerous inversion right there. That just goes to show where people are actually piling on more debt to either A, keep up with the Joneses, or B, to eat. I think it's to eat now. I think I see people, I'm there with my shopping cart, paying for my groceries, and there's some trendy teenage girl next to me in line, and she's buying a Snapple and a bag of chips. You know, it's no, it's not lunch either. It's probably a meal. You know what I'm saying? The Raven's saying, I enjoy this show more than anything on TV. Woo! And then Layla says, me too. All right, let's play this for you guys here.
Okay. Do you want to play rough? Okay. Uno. Say hello to my little friend.
Yeah, you want to play rough? You think you're big time? You're going to die big time. Okay, Canadian households piling on more debt. So, this week's top stories, Canadian households, a new record for mortgage debt, and they aren't saving a whole lot. Let's just say anything they do save becomes absolutely worthless, because if they're deflating their currency, I mean, I guess they just take out whatever equity they can. Don't worry about a rainy day, because the government's going to come and save us. Prices are going up. You probably Kevin Thompson is a covert real estate agent. I think he works for Remax, and I think he has some information he wants to share with us because he, play the game, Mike. Easy money. Yeah, but it's dangerous. I have a family, man. I got kids. I'm not gonna play no dangerous game with free money. Oh, no, I ain't playing nothing with let me see here. $100 at the grocery store doesn't get you much these days, says, $100. Wait a minute, $100 Canadian or American? Oh, in Canada, yeah. $100 American. You could buy a lot of crap. You'd be semi-retarded to buy a property in Australia at the moment. Personally, I hope the chins bury up as much as the poorly made. Dangerous. Yeah. He's got a point there. These things are built like garbage. They're made with rotten Chinese newspapers and rotten apple cores. Look at what happened with the that stupid Sydney Tower there, the Opal Tower. That thing was thrown together with gumshoe and tape. So Owen saying, I have a realtor buddy, and he said he had a client that was looking to buy in Scarborough. The house was initially, where the hell did I go? Initially listed for $400,000, but now it's $712,000 from bidders. It's crazy. That's nice. So the problem is, where are we gonna go? Where do we go? Raven, where's my book? David Gay, back in the day, $100 will get you like 6 Nob Hill Farm baskets worth of food. Yeah, for sure. Yep. See, Glenn Meditation has a good point here. Even if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. Despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage. Okay, we got a flash message here from... Where the hell is that? Oh, Greenland. Salutes, Mike. Salutes to all your viewers. Here in Greenland, you are watched at our school. We send many condolences for the loss of your father, and we like watching your channel. I guess it's translated from something, I guess. So that's from Greenland. Why are they watching me in school? I guess, I don't know. I'm not too sure. Got another flash comment here from Motorhead Trucker. Watching you here in California, Mike. Keep up the good work. Shared you with all my friends and listen to you when I am trucking to Texas. When I'm hauling to Texas or trucking to Texas, I always download your podcasts. Download your podcasts to re-listen to them. We got TJ Livingston from East Africa saying, Mike, you're the man. Thanks for standing up for Africans. I've watched some of your documentaries. Some of your documentaries have been translated into Afrikaans, and some of your documentaries that you made about Africa have been translated into 13 different languages. Thank you very much. Okay. We got Supreme Cannon in the comments. We got... Sadiq Omar in the house. We got David Gay in the house. We got Rachi in the house. We got Gary Medij in the house. We got Rainier Mola in the house. Solid Extra in the house. Real Kevin Thompson, of course. Like I said, this isn't a real show without real Kevin Thompson. If there's not a real trends in the housing market with the real Kevin Thompson. Now, guys, go to the bottom where I'm talking here. Go to the bottom where it says share. Share this right now while I'm live. Share it now so people can see that it's live and people can see it right now. Harlip is saying there are small towns within an hour's drive of Kamloops that have great deals. Yeah, I live in Merritt and I'm an hour south of Kamloops. Oh, we're 40 minutes south. What's going on? We got more French in the comments. So let's see here. Canadian households are saving a quarter of what Americans do. That's not a good sign, especially with a devaluing currency. It's not good. And Greater Vancouver pre-sale real estate makes a big jump. So I had a discussion with someone the other day that used to export to the United States. They would sell things they would make. And they've been doing it for about 17 years. And they wrote to me because they can no longer export to the United States because the government wants you to fill out 40 pages of paperwork before you could send anything to the United States now. I tried to send a Magic card. I needed to pay $16 to send a Magic card with no tracking. $16 with no tracking. So a lot of people are complaining that work in because when we have a weak dollar, our exports become more attractive. But that's becoming a problem because they're stopping small businesses from exporting to America. So Canadians are getting a big kick in the pants. Canada's good is in good standings when they're bordered with the United States. But if Canadians like myself and other people that sell, online can't sell to America anymore, we're screwed, and our government knows it, and they're purposely. You got to fill out 40 pages of paperwork to send a magic card worth $6. All right. How California became America's housing market nightmare. California knows how to party. California knows how to party. Okay, now here's the deal with California, guys. You see that house right there, that brown one in the middle right there? That house right there in San Francisco, $4 million. That's $4 million. Cash. Cash. That house, that same house in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 90 grand. What a big difference. Why? California's been bought out by a majority of foreign investing. But foreign investors have been in California now speculating for 10 to 13 years now. Yeah, it's not like Vancouver where it's only the last 7, 8 years. It's not like Australia the last 7, 8 years. The UK has been 10 years. That's why the UK right now is going into its 26th quarter of decline in housing. Luckily, they could blame Brexit and not foreign investing. God forbid they blame foreign investing on anything nowadays. See, Rainier Mole has been watching the show and understands. At least U.S. citizens can move into a different state. In Canada, there are very few big cities. That's very true. Texas has more major cities than all of Canada put together, times 10. You don't like Houston, you move to San Antonio. You don't like San Antonio, you move to Dallas. You don't like Dallas, you move to Fort Worth. You don't like Fort Worth, you move to Katy. You don't like Katy, you move to Houston. You don't like Houston, man. Almost every city has a friggin' NBA team and an MLB team. In the city of Compton, California, the land of golden dreams, has become America's worst housing nightmare. Recent wildfires have heightened, and the stakes for the state can't seem to build enough new homes. So, percentage of burned house. Oh, wow. So this is more discussing about the fires. See, Hawaii's land constraints, high build costs, and desirable settings push up prices. Then income, cost burden income brackets. Local jurisdiction in California is becoming a huge problem. Well, California has become a liberal nightmare. It's like right from Seattle all the way down. Right from King County all the way down to the San Diego border. Completely bought out. Housing sales in Saskatoon rebound slightly in October. Why? Because the average median house is $318,000. And you could get into something at $331,000 in Saskatoon. So it's very nice to see that we still have places in Canada we can still afford to buy. We're tired of living off emergency food bank parcel. Understand the reality of life on the breadline. Again, just people that work. This guy here, what's his name? He's working as a... He's got a good job, too. He works... just a computer technician. And he's got to go a couple of times a week to the food bank to get food. And this one right here. This is worse than any Freddy Krueger movie. This is scarier than anything because we're going to lose everything, guys. And I'm telling you, it's all going to start in Australia. I've been telling you guys this. Chinese buyers are getting ready to flock back into Australia's cheap property market, with one city emerging as their clear favorite. 27% of tourists said they're going to buy on their next trip to Australia, and 1.2 million, 27% of 1.2 million is 300,000 people. The Commonwealth has been competing for wealthy investors to prop our economy up, and it's killing us, guys. It's killing us. It's killing the fabric of everything. It's killing, and the problem is Ireland's being plagued with this. And I read an article about the changes in Ireland, and locals are getting fed up with the changes. Right? You're seeing this in Glasgow, Scotland, in Edinburgh, Scotland, seeing the same thing. Affordability levels out of hand. See, this is from a few months back ago. Bidding on a house, what first-time buyers need to know in Dublin, Ireland. Bidding wars are becoming a new thing in Ireland. How to survive a bidding war. I'm house hunting in Dublin. It's tough. Bidding wars in Edinburgh. Edinburgh price growth outstrips every UK city in Scotland. Hey, this is from a couple of weeks ago. Edinburgh price growth outstrips every other UK city. Edinburgh's metric house price growth overtook the every city in the UK last year amid a perfect storm of contributing factors. Now, they always blame shortages of homes, okay? But that's not the deal. Scotland's population isn't doubling and tripling. Scotland's population is being invaded by foreign investing. A shortage of homes on a marked coupled with swelling population led to an intense competition for fewer properties available, driving up prices in a fierce bidding wars. The capital's popularity with holiday let investors has also been listened as a reason why many first-time home buyers struggling to get a foot on the ladder. Now, we're going to lose Scotland. We're going to lose Ireland. We're going to lose... We already lost England. A lot of people have left... A lot of people have left to Middle England because rising London area house prices pushes buyers market. Bidding wars are happening in a place where real estate association says is unusual. Bidding wars, London Free Press. They even write articles, how to hit a house. Bidding wars in Manchester. See? Familiar story in the UK. Bidding wars is something that could happen to the best of us. Let me explain to you guys what's happening. Up until 7 years ago, you go to a house, you see it. Okay, I like this house. I'm going to send an inspector. Inspector comes in. You go ahead and inspect the property. Okay, it needs a roof and it needs this. Is it okay if you drop the price a bit, or you fix the roof or fix the problems, and then we could negotiate a better price? Nowadays, they don't even know what the heck is wrong with the house. They don't even know what they're buying. And we're going to lose Scotland. We're going to lose Ireland. We're going to lose England. Not because of Brexit. We're going to lose. We're going to lose Australia. We're going to lose New Zealand. And we're going to lose Canada. It's like we're losing on every front. Where does the Canadian... Where do people from the Commonwealth go? Where do the Commonwealth, like, where do they go? What countries are waiting for them with open arms like their countries are for others? That's the concern. Someone says to go to Iran. Iran was one of the best countries in the world in 1974, 1975, 1976, and 1977. Iran was like the best, one of the most infrastructurally sound countries on the planet. Then it got destabilized, right? Angola in Africa was an amazing country to live in until it was destabilized in the 70s, right? Mozambique was a great country to live in until it was destabilized, right? Syria was an incredible country to live in. They had over 100 religions. It was such a good place to live. And then it was destabilized. Cobra Jones saying, Mike, check out Venezuela and Chile. Yeah, I did check it out. I was looking at what's happening there. Chile is really unstable right now with the riots, the huge riots in Chile. We're going to cover some of this on Mike in the Night this Saturday, guys, because this is really tough to swallow. This is a tough pill to swallow. When you get foreign money being introduced or injected into a foreign economy, it just spells doom for the locals. Locals don't stand a chance. The locals can't win. Economically, they can't. Jeff Salcero says, I heard Calgary is preferred over Edmonton. Yes, I prefer Calgary over Edmonton. I've been to both cities many times. Wow, I got 179 people watching me. The guys keep sharing this thing. So that's what I want to say, guys. I wanted to put this out there. If anybody wants to call into the show, let me know. Maybe we should get some wisdom from Supreme Cannon. I don't know where he is. Where is this guy? Supreme, are you drunk? Are you sober? Can you come on the show? Because I'm just feeling down right now. I'm just. It's an economic war. I mean, it's an economic war we're in right now, and it hurts. It just. How do you win this kind of war, right? Australia's housing market takes off, not helping the economy. And this one again. Children's book about food banks is a grim sign our failure as society. Again, they're massaging the younger youth to understand that not having money for food and having to go to a food bank is a normal thing when it shouldn't be. And what was it? 8 million people in London living in poverty? What was it? That article I read that I couldn't get over 8 million. $8 million found in London. Whoa. Uh, 27% of Londoners in poverty. Yeah. Absolutely uncalled for. Poverty rates have only nudged, despite the glaring prosperity, the privilege to live in London. Here we go. This is the one. More than 8 million people in England living in unsuitable housing conditions. What the hell is that? And research shows 3.6 million people are living in overcrowded homes. Australia housing mini boom signs bleak elsewhere in the economy. Canadian households are saving a quarter of what Americans do. Canadian households set a new record for mortgage debt, and they aren't saving a whole lot. Canadian households are piling into mortgage debt even as consumer debt slows. Toronto real estate prices made the second largest monthly October jump in 10 years. And Canadian households see interest rates drop, but the trend is still higher. Guys, they keep dropping interest rates. It's just going to pile on more debt because this allows you to carry more debt because obviously you're paying less to borrow it. Remember that, guys? Pray, pray, pray this to happen because it will be through prayer and great achievements will be possible. I pray every day, man. Mike, watch The Creature from Jekyll Island and it will make sense. Yeah, I haven't seen that in a while. I saw that when I was a kid. I'll watch it. I'll even read the book, actually. The Time to Reflect says the Communist Chinese will save us. Scummo's Affordable Australia says global debt crisis. CCP will save us. Let's see if we can get somebody on the show here. I know Supreme has some good housing stories he could share with us. We got the buddy in Toronto. I tried to get that guy on from Australia. No one's picking up the phones in Australia. Oh, okay, somebody's calling in. I don't know who this is. Hello?
That's me.
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
That's me. Mike.
Yeah, I lower your volume. I can hear you in the background.
Yeah, I'm watching your show right now.
Okay. So what's
Sorry.
going... Yeah, don't be sorry. What's going on, buddy? What can you tell us about the housing market?
Well, I just saw your article there about the UK housing, and you were showing that shoddy house there. Well, I was just gonna say because I've been to the UK before, and over there, like it's a different standard of living. They a lot of the people they throw good furniture out. Like you can pick up a nice table or chairs out on the street because people move out and they kind of just dump it. You know, it's not like here in Canada you gotta go to Value Village and still pay tax on used goods, right? So I'm thinking like it's a bit of a different living standard there, and also they also give people the option to lease to own a house, right? Like you can rent and kind of buy it out from the council housing. That's what they call it, right? So I don't know what your take is on that, but it's a bit different system, right?
So where are you from? Who is this and where are you from?
I'm Dave from Berlin, right? I lived in Berlin for about 7 years. I just came back to Toronto recently.
And how? Okay,
and
now the transition. Okay, have you noticed change?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I've been gone for 7 years, and I've noticed like prices are so much higher. Like rent, when I was here back in 2012, people were renting houses for about $1,000 a month, or even less than that. Right now, it's like $2,000 minimum for some of these places, right? Like, I was also here on a visit back in 2016, and I was renting myself for about $1,200, and now I can't even find a place for $1,200 anymore. You know?
Yeah, that's intense, buddy. That's pretty intense. So, have you noticed
things have gone up.
have you noticed how there's skyscrapers everywhere? Like condo towers?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got a friend who's working in this industry as an electrician and stuff, and he tells me that there's just condos going up everywhere. And I noticed like the stores, a lot of the stores around Toronto are like shut. You know, like the windows are covered with like a paper or cardboard, and like what's going on? Like there's no businesses operating anymore. Like where are people supposed to support their local community? You know what I mean? Like it's like people are waiting for the developers to show up and just snatch up their property, you know? So it's kind of scary what's going on, yeah.
Yeah, I had to go back there, unfortunately, on bad reasons because I had to bury my father, but...
Yeah, I heard. I'm sorry about that, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm just really glad. I left Toronto like in my early 20s. Right, I went to go live in Mexico for 2 years, right? And when I went back to Toronto, it got even worse. And then I stayed in Toronto for a while to be with my family. Then I just moved to Miami for a bunch of years, right?
Yeah. So how was Miami though? Like, how do you
Very
find
cheap.
it different? I mean,
Very cheap. You could buy a house there for 170 grand, a 4-bedroom with a pool.
Yeah.
You know? So,
Yeah.
like, you know, and I was making bank there. But unfortunately, when I went to my what you call it, the thing for the immigration, when I went for my thing, they basically told me they weren't looking for my kind at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I was in Florida myself before I actually left for Germany. This was back in 2012, and we did a road trip all the way from Toronto to Miami. It was a 2,500 kilometer drive, and along the way, I just noticed like the different communities, how people are living, self-sustaining. Like, you know, they have their local jobs that they have,
Yep.
whatever. And you can see, like, I stopped off at like I think it was Aldi in like Pennsylvania or something on the way back or whatever it was, and I just saw like the prices, how they're affordable. You can go in and buy like a full grocery cart of shopping for like, you know, $100 US. It's not that I was buying that much at the time. I was just buying like sandwiches. Like today I was shopping in Toronto here at a No Frills, and like 125 grams of salami is like $5.99. In Germany, that thing, 100 grams of salami is €1. That's like $1.50 in comparison.
Yeah. Oh, that's huge.
You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous pricing over here. Like, how can people survive? Like, you can't even afford some of the food that's out here. Like, you know, you got to spend half of your money, more than half of your money on rent, first of all, and then the other half goes towards food, unless you're eating like McDonald's every day, you know?
Yeah. But the problem with the food is too, like, a lot of people don't understand that when they're calculating. Remember when I don't know if how long you've been watching my channel, but do you remember when I talk about total debt service ratio and the importance to factor in the price of food with your expenses? A lot of people don't do that when they get a mortgage.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people get a mortgage thinking that, you know, they're going to become, well, a lot of the people still have that whole conception that they're paper millionaires, right? Like, that's why people are going out and spending money like on their credit cards, and they're paying their first credit card off with the second credit card, but they're not thinking about the reality that right now I think the average Canadian owes $2 for every dollar that they earn, right?
It's actually $1.98, and in Australia it's $2.08.
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost there. It's almost at $2. So ridiculous.
So, woo! So what happened in Germany? Tell us. I know the housing crisis in Germany is crazy. Can you tell us? Yeah. Tell us what's happening in Germany.
Well, when I was there, like the average rent, let me put it this way, like the job market's it's a little tough for the foreigners, right? Because I showed up as English speaking. I don't know that much German, right? So for me, it was a bit tough getting in there. But there is a huge startup scene over there. It's almost Berlin is known as like the Silicon Valley of Europe right now. There's a lot of tech companies booming, and a lot of internationals are showing up there for work. And basically, the average salary out there it pays quite well, like in comparison to like Canadian dollars, right? Like you can get a starting job, let's say 40,000 euros. That's like 60,000 Canadian in conversion, and rent is like 600 to 800 euros, like for a cheap place, like a bachelor. But if you want to buy a property, even though Germany is only 1/3 the size of Ontario, you can still find a lot of vacant land available, and people are moving out. I saw your show the other day. You were talking about people in Berlin moving out from the city to the second. How did you call it? Like the
secondary cities and tri-cities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so like you can still move out to a tri-city in Berlin. Let's say, for example, Wustermark, or like that's just outside of Berlin. It's about 50 kilometers out. But the thing is, the transportation network there still sustains the people. Like you can get on a train and be inside Berlin within an hour. You know what I mean?
Oh, screw that. I'll just take the Autobahn.
Well, that too. But I mean, there's obviously traffic. And also, not to mention, car insurance is really cheap in Germany. Like you're paying like 400 euros a year for a car.
400 euros a year? That's like $590 Canadian.
Yeah, for the whole year. And there's 90 million people in Germany, and there's still land for people to buy. There's still affordable housing. There's still affordable food, and there's like the job market's booming, right? Like there's always, like when I was driving around in Germany on the autobahns, on the highways, there's always transport trucks nonstop going from like Poland, from Romania, from Lithuania. There's always something happening. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So there's always some business going on, and and that's how pretty much I think the economy flows over there, right? Like they obviously have workers from much cheaper countries. Let's say, for example, Romanians or Bulgarians, right? Like they'll work for lower wage than a typical German would, and that's probably how they kind of like benefit from that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it is a different market altogether. But it is 90 million people, not 35 like in Canada, right? Because we're so dispersed, and the majority of Canadians live, 90% of Canadians live within like 100 kilometers from the U.S. border,
Right.
right? But there's this artificial, I think there's this artificial image that there's no land available. Like we're all crunched together, but we got 10 million square miles in Canada, right?
Yeah. That's almost the size of Russia.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, Germany's only 1/3 the size of Ontario, and it's still affordable, and it's still possible to build a house out there. You can buy a 1930s house for about 100,000 euros with 1,000 or 2,000 square meters of land.
Well, Canada has one thing that Germany doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Crown land.
Yeah. I guess
We have
but
crown land and we
that's-
can't build on that. So we're Germany has free land. It's open, right? Is there anything in Germany that's like locked by the government that no one could buy? Like 80% of the land is it owned by like a foreign entity, like in Canada?
Well, like the parks, the nature parks, the
That's different.
lakes.
That's different. I'm talking about just like plots of huge land that's owned by the German government, or not the German government, but some foreign entity owns it, part of Germany, but no one knows really how to unlock it to build stuff on it.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be able to tell you much about that because I never looked into it. But there are like huge lands there's huge available lands. Like when you're driving on the Autobahn, you see like just huge swaths of forest and everything all around. Like I don't know if that's crown land actually, because they do own anything near the major highways. Of course, I don't think anybody really wants to live near a highway, and I think that might be crown land. So
I'm just kind of throwing that out there because the reason why there's so many problems in cities like Vancouver and the Lower Mainland. I'm talking about, okay, when I talk about Vancouver, I'm talking about a radius of 200 miles around Vancouver, and Toronto, 200 miles around Toronto. Because if you go to Leamington, Ontario, it's still getting expensive. You go to Windsor, it's expensive. You go to Niagara Falls, it's expensive. You go to Kitchener, Waterloo, it's expensive outside Toronto. So I'm talking about like a 200-mile radius around Toronto. Is pretty much either it's crown land, you can't build on it, or it's green space, you can't build on it, or it's a nature preserve and you can't build on it, right? So it's hindering the build to build.
Yeah,
but
it's hindering
Canadians aren't
growth
having
of the
babies
economy.
anymore, so how is there a shortage of housing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and to tell you the truth, the houses are not even worth that much. I mean, in Germany, we have houses that are built out of masonry, like like the Three Little Pigs book. Like you got a house of straw, you got a house of wood, and then you got a house of bricks and mortar. Like that's what houses in Germany are. We got huge, solid mason houses that won't get knocked down. Here everything's plywood, thin, and like thin little insulation, right? Like the material cost is not even worth what they're charging over here. Over there, people build huge custom houses for like 200,000 euros, and they're like 1,500 square foot or something. And you got requirements to have solar panels on your roof since 2012. You got in-ground heated floors. You got radiant towel drying rack things in the washroom. Yeah, like a lot of different technologies. And in Germany, all the people who move out of a house, even an apartment, they have to take the kitchen with them. You know what I mean? Like nobody wants a greasy, filthy kitchen after somebody else, Yeah, so it's a little bit different, yeah.
Interesting.
And the houses are built to last. Everybody has a roof. The roof shingles are made of clay, not like paper asphalt shingles. You know what I mean? Like over there, they're built to last.
I I'm gonna go to the Philippines in a couple of months, and we're gonna, my wife and I, we're gonna start building a house where she has land, and we're gonna build it with rebarb and poured concrete.
Yeah,
Right?
that's a good idea.
Yeah,
It's gonna last
rebarb,
forever.
and the
Yeah.
rebarb, metal rebarb goes through it, and the poured concrete, because it's very warm there, so you don't get winters and stuff. But that's still better than plywoods, like we say in Portuguese, plywood,
Exactly.
and you know what I mean?
Yeah, 2x4s and that corrode after a few years. You have a little leak somewhere, and you're gonna have mold, right? You want to have something solid, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, have you looked at container houses? Like that's a big thing nowadays. Like I'm sure there's a lot of containers coming out of China to the Philippines, whatever, right? Like you could probably buy a few containers that are, like discontinued or they don't need anymore from some kind of container yard, right? And then you can just custom build that. Like you can attach two containers, you can cut out windows and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, I've
and I
seen
think
a
a
couple of
container would
videos of
cost
some
you like
people doing that kind of
2,500
stuff.
or 5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I could see a container, I don't, living in all that, it's pretty cool. I think that's nice. But I think containers are good to build underground bunkers with. That's what you use them for.
Yeah, that too. But I mean, you can retrofit a container. It's way more solid than plywood. Come on, like you can put
Oh,
a
of
few
course,
containers
plywood.
together.
No, but what you could
Like,
do,
throw
what
them-
you could do is you could put two containers together. I've seen it done before, and you got this massive place, and you could put two containers above it, and then have a balcony cut out. I've seen it done when they weld it together. They arc weld it. It never comes apart, and then you could frame it around in 2x4s. You could frame it the outside to make it look nice if you want to, with the speckle after, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
are you
so,
going? So you're in Toronto. What are you doing to make ends meet? Toronto's an expensive city.
Well,
Are you
yeah,
Chinese?
yeah. Well, right. I'm working. I'm working currently. I do IT stuff, but at the moment, I'm also looking around to sort of like buy my own property and land. I was looking at Cornwall. Cornwall is 4 hours away from Toronto. It's close to two major cities, Ottawa and Montreal, and you can buy a 1,100 square foot home for about 180,000.
Yeah.
Not like 800,000 here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 800,000. And what do you get for 800,000? You could buy that same house in West Palm Beach for 90 grand.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so Cornwall's pretty similar. That's the next option that I'm thinking right now. And outside of Toronto, it's 4 hours away. You can still get to Toronto with the train, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's still commutable, right? But the thing is, you also have to look for work there. Like you're not going to rely on the Via Rail to get down to Toronto, obviously, right?
No,
You'd
it's
have
too
to
far.
make
It's too far.
Yeah, you'd have to make a move and sort of like find work out there. But I was in Cornwall actually. I went there just out of curiosity to see what it's like. They got 100 restaurants and bars. It kind of reminded me of like Niagara Falls. You know, Niagara Falls is it's like a touristy town, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite big. I mean, I think the population is like 50,000 almost.
That's good. Can you gain independence in a form of employment where you could just work from home?
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of doing that at the moment. I'm working from home. So for me, like, I'm just on the internet anyways, right, on the laptop. So I'm thinking like relocating, and maybe I might have a few meetings here and there where I do have to come into Toronto, like once, like a Christmas party or something. So
Sure.
I could, it's doable.
Sure, because if you could do that and you could work out of Cornwall, do everything you got to do from there, and then your overhead is so minimal because the cost of living and property tax is cheaper, your hookups are cheaper for electricity and water and gas, and you're just your total debt service ratio is serviceable, and I think you need to make what, $30 a day to survive?
Yeah, pretty much. And I noticed the groceries were even cheaper over there. Like at the Freshco or something, I noticed like you could buy what was cheaper? I think it was like milk or eggs were even cheaper than they are in Toronto.
Yeah.
Everything was cheaper there, yeah. So I don't know what's going on because I'm guessing a lot of the transport's coming from Montreal, and they have depots in Cornwall. Maybe they store things from the States or something because it's really close to Vermont there as well, right?
Yeah, it is close to Vermont.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So it is like kind of a hub for like Canadian products, yeah. And then as soon as they bring it to Toronto, they double the price or something. Who knows, right?
Yeah, that's a very scary thought. Just the price of food alone is.
Yeah, well, transport costs, right? Like, but I didn't see that many transport trucks. Like I said, I was in Germany for 7 years, and I noticed transport truck after transport truck just bringing everything, like windows, doors, materials, building materials, like swimming pools, cars are going in and out. Like most of the old cars are leaving Germany because Germany's producing their own cars. They got BMWs, they got Mercedes, right? Like, so all the new cars are built there, and then any other old cars, the neighboring countries are buying them, right?
Mhm.
So there's always some exchange, some kind of barter going on over there. So the economy is growing, right? I noticed a lot of foreigners are coming into Berlin just like to work because it's more worth it for them, right? Like, for example, people from Poland, they'll come to Germany because they're gonna make, like, in Poland they would make a quarter of the money that they would make in Berlin in a day, right? So it's
Yeah,
worth it for them. So they're also
that's a big
commuting. They're
deal.
super commuting about like 3 hours. Some of these people from Poland into Berlin, like 3 hour commutes just to make ends meet, obviously. But at the same time, they have huge mansions where they're living, right? Because they earn euros and they spend their money. And same with the Romanians, same with the Bulgarians. But I see that the European bloc is growing. There's 500 million people in Europe.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
500 million. Yeah, 500 million.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, what's your take on the Brexit thing? I think the Brexit thing is like because the UK also, I think, has their own suppliers. They make their own cars. They make the Range Rover, Land Rover.
will be okay. UK will be fine in my opinion because you need that kind of. It's in Europe, but you need the foreign trade within Europe too, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's very, very important. And I think the UK could thrive and grow to a point where they could basically always been independent from the rest of Europe.
Yeah, they
I
have
think
been.
it's
I've
better
noticed
for them.
a lot of the. I think the reason also why they're kind of leaving is because a lot of they called it medical tourism. A lot of people from Europe were coming into the UK to get dental work, or to see a doctor because like it was not required to sort of pay up front or something. I heard, and that's why the what's the health agency there in the UK? I'm kind of slipped out of my mind right now, but I think it's the yeah. Anyways, so you know what I mean, right?
I know
Like
what you
people
mean.
would do medical tourism basically in the UK, so they want to stop that because they were going into a huge they were going into debt with that. So that's one reason why they're trying to prevent it. But the people who are already in the UK from Europe, they're allowed to stay. It's just they don't want any more people showing up, right? So I think that's one reason.
Interesting.
Yeah, but like I said, the housing in the UK is a lot more affordable than it is here in Canada as well. Like I have family that lived in Scotland, and they just bought a place out in Scotland for like I think it was like £120,000 or something like that, and they got a 4 bedroom and huge house. It's quite new. It's not at all old at all. I think it's about 30 or 40 miles outside of Glasgow City, so it's a nice looking area.
Good.
But then again, yeah.
I think someone's paging you.
Yeah, it was one of those emergency alerts. Those what do you call it? Those Amber alerts or something here.
Yes.
Jeez, we get those quite often in Toronto. When I was driving to Cornwall the other time, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was getting an Amber alert that was happening in Niagara region. Meanwhile, I'm like close to Ottawa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They always want to keep you up to date and informed on things that really don't relate to you at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Dave, buddy. Thanks for Thanks for calling in, man. You filled a good gap in this show for me.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mike. We'll talk again.
You know what? Yeah, come on the show whenever, man. If I'm on Mike in the night or something and you want to contribute, there's lots of crap going on. Just come on and join us, and we'll discuss. I'll get your take on what you thought of the elections and other things. I'll pick your brain a little bit later on in other shows of what you think is where things are headed. Okay.
For sure. Love you, Mike, and keep up the show. I love what work you've been doing for the last few years, and yeah, we'll talk again.
Okay, Dave. Thanks. Love you, brother. Bye.
Have a good night, buddy. Take care. Bye.
That is Dave. Yeah, Berlin Dave. That's right. He even messaged me. That's right. That's right. That's right. Okay, so that's a little important snippet of information on what's happening. Very important snippet of information on what's happening in Germany. Someone that lived there for quite a few years that could give us an understanding on what's happening. So tonight's top stories. Hold on.
Do you want to play rough? Okay. Say hello to my little friend.
Say hello to my little friend. What does that mean? We're reading an email. And what is this email from? I read this email when I had 30 people watching the show. I have, I think, over 200 watching the show now. So I'm going to read this email for you guys from a real estate agent from Australia. Hey, Mike, you're right and wrong. I'm a realtor living in Australia and been watching you for a while now. And yes, we are selling out our country. I'll give you that much. One thing I have that you don't is money and power. Hold on. Every time we say money and power on the show, you got to play this.
Do you want to play rough? Okay. Say hello to my little friend.
Money and power. And then you get the women. I throw lavish parties and we celebrate the wealth in real estate. You sit at home and cry about not having money or true wealth. It's losers like you that miss the boat. You've been telling people the wrong thing all these years, and for the people that the people that were bought out of the market for the last 7 years, too bad, your loss. Mike, you're a very delusional person and have no idea about what you are talking about. We are making brochures in Mandarin and Cantonese and tour buses to welcome all new wealth into New South Wales. And when I'm driving my new Mercedes, I think of people like you with no clue in the world on how you're lost to reality. I don't know what he means by that. All right, one more time.
Okay. Do you want to play rough? Okay. Say hello to my little friend.
Say hello to my little friend. Oh, yeah. So we got people in the comments, guys. Don't be shy to comments. Guys, if you're in the comments, you have to call into the show at least one time. Because there's a lot of people here. That comment regularly, and we know them as regulars on the show. Just call in at least one time, just so we know who you are. Just kind of introduce yourself to the channel. We've had Supreme Cannon call in. We need Elizabeth to call in too. We had the Raven call in. We've had maybe it's time to get let's see if we can get Supreme Cannon. Where the hell is Supreme Cannon? I hope he's not in jail. Here he is. Let's see if he picks up the phone.
Hey, bud.
Hey, how are you, my brother?
I'm dandy. Not even in jail.
Good.
Good here.
No, dude, you're gonna have to tell me something. I don't know what the heck is going on here, because I read this article this morning and I was pretty worked up. Chinese buyers are getting ready to flock back to Australia's cheap property market, with one city emerging as their clear favorite. How is Australia? So they're saying here 11%. So it looks like that 27% of tourists saying they will buy in Australia next time on their visit, and that's 27% of 1.2 million tourists. How the hell is Australia selling itself out this bad so fast?
You follow the money, buddy. Somebody in the halls of power is doing very well from this. You know, like they're no real patriots anymore in power. You know, they're not thinking about Australia as, you know, it's like Canada. It's like the whole Anglosphere. They're not thinking of us as, you know, actual, like, we have no special status to them. It doesn't mean we're not citizens.
I'm just concerned, is all. Oh, we lost Supreme Cannon. He's got some pretty poor internet out where he is. Yeah, he's not picking up. We lost him. Hopefully he gets a connection back. We are in a position right now, guys. I don't know how to tell you guys this. It's a massive economic takeover, and I'm scared. I'm scared. Because there's not a lot of countries a lot of Canadians could go to with open arms. You know, there's a lot of countries don't let you buy in their country. And that's my concern. Right? Supreme Cannon, his internet is not... I think he's got to go on the roof of his house. Yeah, Papa Pepest saying only scary if you're in debt. That's true. If you're in debt right now, and you have no assets, and you're just on debt with your signature, meaning like unsecured loans, and auto loans, and credit cards, and MasterCards, and American Express. Did I say credit cards? I think I did. Yeah, Supreme Cannon's phone's dead. I can't get him on the phone. And we're having Supreme Cannon's having issues here. Okay, we got okay, fine, let's get the Raven on, guys. If you guys want the Raven on, who wants the Raven on? I don't know if he's working. Raven, are you working, or are you at home? Are you sober? See if the Raven picks up.
Hey, Mike.
Yo, are you sober?
Yeah, I'll try and keep it. I'll try and keep it normal.
Anyways, okay, you're gonna have to help me on this, buddy, because I can't. I'm not understanding this. I could read English, but I'm not understanding what this is telling me. Why is Australia in such desperate need to sell out their housing to foreign investors?
Because when Jerome Powell lowered rates, everybody there was an article about it the other day. When we lower rates, it affects Australia 15,000 kilometers away or miles. It affects them over there because now people will start to invest in their interest rates because they're higher. People will move their interest rates, which will put a demand on their dollar, which will hurt them. Right? You can't have your currency being too valuable. And they're trying to bring in anything to stimulate it. Anything. And they're going to ease everything. They're going to ease this. They're going to ease that. They're going to loosen policy. They're going to do this. Like, they're going to do what everybody's doing. They got all kinds of trouble. I think it's something to do with the interest rates.
Well, I said it this morning in one of my videos. They've created a monster. They've created a monster, and I think that it's like Frankenstein. Victor Frankenstein, when he created his monster, he had no idea how out of control things were going to get. Now we've created this economic monster, and we don't know what to do with it anymore.
You know what? I have a kind of a different view than most people, and I'm fine tuning. It took me a while to get there, but I don't know. I have a different view, and I don't. All I can do is tell it to people. They can do with it what they want. If they want to laugh at it, they can. If they want to agree with me, they can. I don't care. You gave me you were a nice guy. You gave me a voice, and I don't mind talking on your channel once in a while. But so you like, and sometimes you'll see the comments and they'll go, "Oh, that guy is out to," you know what? Whatever, man. I don't care. I read a lot. I try and put stuff together. And I come up with my own, what I observe on the planet, what I see. I'm not as well traveled as most people. Oh, by the way, Miss X is landing in Tel Aviv in 5 hours.
Nice.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So I, you know what? Remember I told you that snowstorm I got stuck in? Mm-hmm. And I saw how helpless that town of 14,000 people were. And I just couldn't believe it. I never seen anything like that. I've never actually been dropped right into a small town where everybody was helpless and there was no power and there was no food, no light bulb. I never seen that before, but it was something that I needed to see. It was something that I really needed to see. And then with this Greta Thunberg, whoever that young girl is.
Why did you say that? I'm going to get nightmares now.
With that Greta, whatever, that girl, and whatever, good for her. She's trying to bring out awareness and that. And, I'm looking at that, and I'm really reading a lot on that climate stuff, and I'm looking at it, and those 11,000 scientists that have signed the affidavit or whatever saying that we're in jeopardy, like we're really in jeopardy. People are saying 12 years, the planet's going to be uninhabitable in places. Dane Wigington said that by 2026.
Well, they said this. They said that, like, Al Gore, I forgot what is it. Al Man Bear Pig said this already. That Florida would have been underwater 3 years ago. We're in 2019.
Yeah,
Florida's not 10 feet underwater.
I understand what you're saying. A lot of those people said that. Al Gore said that. A whole bunch of them said that. There was an article on that too about how they were all wrong. And there's also an article on Zero Hedge right now about 45 people. I think most of them are elitists like Bill Gates, Darwin, like higher up people. 45 people talking about population control. Mm-hmm. And I always knew population control was a problem. I read about the Georgia Guidestones years ago and all that stuff, and came up through the ranks of conspiracy the proper way. Flat Earth, all this stuff, and I don't care about that stuff. Don't care about ghosts, don't care about aliens, none of that stuff. Population's a big problem, okay? A huge problem. The climate is a huge problem, and you can't fix anything on this planet until you fix the population problem. Why did they not crash us in 08? They make money off crashes. That's a game to them. They can blow them up. They can blow them up, pump them down, blow them up, pump them down. Why didn't they crash us in 08? Mm-hmm. So let's look at the track record of the people that we're talking about. We can't say certain names and certain things that happened several years back, but we know the track record of the people that we're dealing with.
Well, the problem is we can't even say the FR word. On thing. It's not the F word, the swear word. It's FR. We can't even say FR.
No. I read that article too today. They're coming out. There's a guy Barr. He's coming out with a new. They want to start watching Facebook and do pre-crime on mass shooters. They're going to start looking. Algorithms are going to start checking out your Facebook, your Twitter accounts, and all that, and pulling. And you got to be very careful what you say on these websites. I'm not on social media. But like I said, one day me and you will be sitting in a tribunal answering questions to the social credit police. But anyways, they never crashed us in 08. Okay, follow along. They never crashed us in 08.
Well, we saw that Better Dwelling article right here. I was talking about that today. Where was it? Rates drop, still higher. Where the hell did that one go? Piling on more debt. Yeah, household. It was one of these articles I was reading where Canadians are piling on more debt. Was it this one here? It was an article I was reading, and they went into that. Basically, yeah, you have your recession bars right here, right? When you look at the recession bar from 2008 and 2009, even going towards 2008, 2009, things weren't even that good. And then things hit in 2009 the hardest, and that's when you stop. But we've never really ever recovered in the last 10 years. You know what I'm saying?
We're not supposed to recover.
Right. And then you look
We're not supposed to recover, Mike.
Then you look at the Canadian household debt to outstanding debt in dollars. You have this huge delta in wages, and debt to outstanding dollars. It's consumer debt and mortgage debt. You have this huge gap. So you're seeing the mortgage debt go higher, which leave people more house broke. And when people become more house broke, they can't consume as much. And then that's how you're seeing this huge pattern of this huge delta, of different spending expenditures and what people are spending on. A lot of people are just house broke, plain and simple.
You know what? Kevin Thompson's right. Houses are going to rock and roll. And they're going to rock and roll. Yeah. All that money is going to go right back into malinvestment, speculation. It's not going to go anywhere where it should go. So houses are going to go. Everything's going to go. Stock market, look at that. You got new Dow highs, right? Yesterday, today. I'm pretty sure today, I didn't really look. I think today there was a new Dow high again. Mm-hmm. Dow's going to keep going. They've got to get, maybe I am way off. But I look at it so much, and I look at it and study it. It's pretty much all I do is just look at it and study it. And they never crashed us in 08, which they should have done. It was a bad mistake, and we always said that. but they keep building this thing up bigger and bigger and bigger. And I always asked you on this show, what's their end game? Like, what's the finish line? Like,
I asked you that on the show. What's the angle? What is this?
Yeah. No, you asked what's the angle. Yeah, that's right. But what's the end result? What are they trying to get us at? Like, what's at the end of the road? Is there a position we can get to where everything's fixed?
Mm-hmm.
They're trying. What I'm thinking, it took that series of events of seeing that snowstorm and seeing how helpless those people were. See, I would never have known people would have been that helpless. We threw our whole rule structure right out the window driving trains that night. Everything that we'd ever been taught for years went out the window. As soon as it got that crazy, no more rules. We did what we had to do. So after witnessing that and seeing everything that's going on with this Greta Thunberg and these climate scientists.
Oh, you said her name again. Dude, I got to sleep tonight.
and these climate scientists and them pushing Brexit, it's always 3 more months. And the trade war, it's always another month. It's always another month. You know, they're pushing Brexit. They're pushing the trade wars. You've got cryptocurrency and negative interest rates neck and neck. They're going around the curve. Which one's going? Because they got to both line up. What you want to know when there's a crash? When they flip everybody over into negative interest rates. And at that point, if they can build this big enough, they can take care of their climate control problem at the same time. And don't tell me that anybody in this room doesn't think they're capable of thinking like that, because these people are. You either have a planet or you don't have a planet. And that's what they're talking in that room, the room where they all sit around and go, this is what's got to be done, else we are done. Mm-hmm. Hey, use your brain. Don't think of puppy dogs and unicorns, everyone. Use your brain. Think what these people are capable of and think of the survival of this planet. Or do you think what they're saying is a joke? I swam in the lake last year, hottest water I ever swam in my life, in the entire time I've ever swam in that lake. And I've swam in that lake every year my whole life. Hottest last year was like somebody warmed it up on a stove. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I believe this stuff is real. And I'm starting to notice it more and more. And the storms, look at the storm we just had. It wiped us out. Mm-hmm. It crippled us.
See, I believe that climate changes. I don't believe that it's a lot. In my opinion, see, we're on opposite ends here. I believe that we contribute little or almost none towards it. I believe it's more of the orbit of the sun. I believe sunspots. I believe that it's something that's completely out of our hands. I think climate change is something that we can't control. That's one thing we can't put our fingers on the dials, you know?
Well, I go to the rail yard and I see all those engines idling and all that smoke going in the air. It's like factories everywhere, eh? I don't know. I think we have a 20-ton carbon footprint in North America. I think China's is way lower. But you got to remember, China rose, I've heard anywhere from 4 to 600 million people from poverty into middle class.
That's right. That's right. And they want everything. So they want a microwave oven. They want a fridge.
Microwaves, air conditioners. They got it all. You're right. They want all that. They want to live like the Westerners. Everybody wants a cell phone. Look at the cell phones they're making. This can't go on. Mm-hmm. It just can't. And they're holding Deutsche Bank in suspension. They're holding everything in suspension, and they're pushing it because the further you go, the more eggs we put in the basket, the more vulnerable we become. Every week, every month we go in the future, it will be worse for us. Mm-hmm. And I think they're holding it off to make whatever, get as many people into one country, whatever, and see what you can do. Yeah.
All right, Supreme. Supreme. All right, Raven. I'm going to let you go. I'll have you on. Are you going to be available for Mike in the Night?
I don't know. I might be working. I hope that doesn't sound too crazy, but I'm just kind of looking at it and thinking, is that what these guys are doing? I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that's a crazy kind of?
Well, we'll have a debate. We'll have a debate on climate change, and we'll get some people who are pro and some people who are basically anti, and maybe we could discuss a good discussion, you know, and kind of maybe just think outside the box for a while and kind of understand, you know what I mean? But maybe we'll talk about it. We'll talk about climate change and we'll look at different angles. You know what I'm saying? But
your show
there is
Saturday?
there's always a bigger game in play, right? If it's not in your community, then it's in your province. If it's not in your province, it's in your cabinet members. If it's not in the cabinet parliament members, it's next. So there's always a bigger plan. All right, Raven, stay out of trouble, and we will see each other soon.
All right. Okay,
God bless.
okay.
Bye. That is the Raven, and he believes in climate change. I believe climate changes, but I don't believe a majority of it is man-made. We have Daniel. I want to talk to Daniel Formifist. Let's call him. See if he picks up. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Daniel, what's up, buddy?
Not much. Sorry,
Long time no speak.
I'm behind. You caught me off guard. I'm watching.
Oh.
It's like,
Yeah, you never
there's a
watch
delay.
live when we're talking live because it's always behind.
yeah. All right.
So what's
think
going
I
on,
got it.
buddy?
Oh, not much. Someone mentioned that I should come on.
Yeah,
And,
I saw that in the comments, and you're doing some pretty good work with your videos out there. I just want to know what's on your mind. Tell us what's going on. What do you think is going to happen? I mean, do you see a lot of foreign investing picking up again as housing starts to drop? This is where everything's pointing right now in Australia, and I think it might be catastrophic there down under if it continues. I don't know what's going to happen, but it looks like it's a big problem with a lot of people trying to move their money offshore. You know, like when does it end? What happens?
Yeah, well, in Australia, I haven't looked at the charts, but they're probably seeing another leg up, right? So they peaked out, and they're seeing another leg, well, start of a leg up. But we saw the same thing in Vancouver. In fact, the Vancouver peaked out, and then there was a second leg up that eclipsed the first leg up, went way higher.
Right.
Second leg up.
That's the dead cat bounce we were discussing like a year ago, right?
Yeah, dead cat bounce, bull trap, whatever you want to call it. And then Toronto is doing the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's, there's that second bounce. And, it's a pretty well-known thing. It's a dead cat bounce or a bull trap or whatever else you want to call it. The reason there's so many names for it is everybody knows about it. Mm-hmm. But, there's a chance. The question is, how high is that second leg up? That bull trap. I maintain that I think Toronto is. My prediction was that, or my best guess was, I don't like to call it a prediction. My best guess was that Toronto was going to fall this fall. Now, fall ends December 21st. And so we won't get the numbers on that, on my prediction, until January.
Yeah,
but,
Q1 of 2020.
Yeah, if it doesn't transpire, I'm going to have Ivan all over my ass. So I kind of hope it does fall. I don't really care, but it'll make Ivan happy. So, hey, that's cool. Mm. But I don't personally think, I've done videos about how the topping period, or what I call a topping period, is it's generally a year or two. And, it was in Vancouver. Chances are it is in Toronto. That's my best guess,
Well, right now, Toronto's severely out of control, and and the problem is it's the ripple effect, the ripple down effect that it's causing on young families and generations being completely bought out of the markets with average to well-paying jobs. This ripple effect, how are we going to recoup from this massive ripple effect of people not getting married, not settling down, not laying roots? I mean, this is the damage that it's caused. I think is some of it maybe irreparable. I don't know if that's English, but yeah.
Irreparable?
Yeah.
I'm people always accuse me of being a doomer. I'm not a doomer. I think there's going to be a deleveraging period. I always reference Japan, and people always get on my ass about referencing Japan or comparing to Japan. But I think Japan is the closest equivalent historical precedent that is going to match up with what we're going to see, in my opinion. Again, my best guess is that we'll see a deleveraging. All the headlines are about how much debt Canadians have taken on. We've taken on tons of debt with interest rates as low as they are. People don't have a choice. I mean, where are you going to throw your money? You know, it rots away in the bank. You throw it in the stock market because, you know, that's been a winning bet. And you throw it into real estate. I mean, can you really blame somebody who, you know, doesn't deep dive into the market and really understand it? They're seeing real estate go up for 15 years straight pretty well. You know, a hiccup in '08 and it keeps, I mean, that's just reinforcing the, you know, the Teflon market. So you've got this general population that they get the headlines in the news and maybe a bit of advice from their mortgage broker or their real estate agent, and they don't really do the research. All that's built into the back of their mind is real estate's gone up for the last 15 years. Or in Toronto, I think the last trough bottomed out in 96. So it's, you know, 20 years. So on the one hand, I can't really blame the average Joe or Jane on the street, you know, but the fact is that history repeats. This looks like a bubble. It smells like a bubble. I think it's going to pop like a bubble. But as far as what you're talking about, like the long-term consequences, I think it's going to be a long, drawn-out deleveraging. I'm not a doomer. I don't think it's going to be catastrophic. I think we're going to work our way through it. I mean, there have been hundreds of bubbles that have popped, not in, you know, all over the world. Bubbles have popped. All different asset classes have popped. And, well, I'm talking to you. We're all still here. You know, we work through it. The thing
we'll
about
adapt and work through it, because a lot of people have adapted by not buying into a market, by not, you know, a lot of people adapted by getting this useless student loans and education that are not getting the jobs they were promised. We all adapt to whatever is coinciding around us, right? But I think there's it's just a bigger. I'm not talking about doom and gloom like that kind of like AMTV doom and gloom. I'm talking about like there's like a bigger hierarchy of things that are happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but again, I think we'll work through it. It's just the natural progression. Once a bubble pops, you know, there's this massive shift of frame of mind, or the way that an entire country looks at an asset class. It will completely change. Again, real estate has just gone up. The if anything, the '08 dip was a bad thing because it just reinforced people's confidence in the market. So people think the market's Teflon. So I think, I think we'll work through it. I think once the bubble pops, everybody will look at real estate in a different. Just ask anybody in the U.S. Anybody, because their bubble was recent enough that it's still fresh. It's still very fresh.
But hold on a sec. A lot of that bubble They didn't go to the full crash. That's the problem. There was bail-ins, there was bailouts, there was all kinds of stuff that happened. America didn't experience a full-blown crash. That's the problem. And a lot of people that did go through this crash originally, half of them already forgot about it. And that's the sad part. And there are parts of the United States, like in Illinois, there's parts in Michigan, there's parts in Alabama and Wyoming, where they're still recovering 10 years later. You know what I'm saying? Guys, if you're just joining us right now, this is Formafist. This is his channel right here. He has 8,350 subscribers. Guys, can you please subscribe to his channel, Formafist? I'll leave a link in the comments. Let's see if we can get him to 9,000 subscribers tonight. Here it goes, Formafist in the comments there by me. Go ahead and subscribe to his channel. And his recent video, Quarterly Real Estate Reports Following My Own Advice. His video before that from 5 days ago, Will Real Estate History Repeat? And I saw this one last week, How Long Can Real Estate Bubble Last? That was a very informative video. And 2 weeks ago, How to See a Real Estate Bubble, The Ultimate Guide. So guys, please subscribe to Formafist's channel. Formafist is one of the original, I guess, founding fathers of the crash. It was me, it was Formafist, and I think that was it. Me and Formafist, and I don't know who else was out there, but we were predicting a lot of the stuff that has already happened. We were predicting a lot of the challenges that people will be facing with this economic turmoil we're going through. Formafist and I have predicted. Formafist and I aren't post-dictors. We see a lot of these channels that are coming out and doing all these real estate videos now, talking about all the doom and gloom, but none of them were predicting. They're only post-dicting. And we don't have, there's no, Captain Obvious is Captain Obvious. We were talking about this for a long time, and it's I'm very humbled to have him on my show tonight to come on. So here's his channel here. Please subscribe to his channel. I need to see him at 9,000 subs like in the next couple of hours here. So go ahead, Formafist, take the floor. What else?
Yeah, I think you and me are kind of we stand alone. I mean, I'm not blowing sunshine up your ass or mine. We're kind of there are other channels, but we're obviously the biggest two, the loudest voices in this space, and we're both not connected. There's a lot of people that are connected to the industry making videos. We're removed in that sense, we're not beholden to a real estate office. We can just say whatever we want. So it's a little bit, we really are. It's like you and me, and we're the biggest two. There's other channels, but we're the two that aren't in the industry talking about it.
Well,
and
it's not funny that we're not post-dicting things, right?
Yeah,
there's a lot of channels out there with a million subs, but they're all post-dicting. It's like, where were you with your 1 million subscribers 5 years ago to warn people?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. My first video, the first video I ever did, it was like the month Toronto peaked. I basically said, this really looks like a bubble. And it wasn't that I was waiting to do a video or plan that or anything. It just so happened I was researching the market, and I thought, hey, I'll make a video about my thoughts on the market. And that thing, I had some weird stuff happen. Well, you know all about YouTube and the channel, but I changed some settings in my channel. If you notice on my first video, I don't have any comments, but I commented on every single person's comment. I responded to every single comment on that video, and it was weird. That video got way more views, and then they cut it down. But it was a bit of a weird thing. Anyways, that's a bit of a non sequitur.
But speaking of cutting down, I lost close to 400 Australian housing videos that got deleted.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing. I think
Yeah,
There's
and
nothing you can do.
It was in the last year or so. It wasn't like from 4 or 5 years ago when I was making them. It was in the last year they were cutting my videos like left, right, and center. And then you know how I know? I go onto my channel from my wife's side on her YouTube, and then I go to play all my videos. Do this for yourself too. Go to play all, and then scroll down on all your videos, and you'll see this is deleted, this is deleted, this is deleted, this is deleted.
Oh yeah, I've never done that.
Try that on someone else's YouTube, and you'll see how many of your videos have been taken down that you forgot about.
So you go to somebody else's.
So you're on, like, for example, your wife, you go on her YouTube, go to your channel, go to your videos on your channel where it says videos, not playlist, videos, and then click watch all.
Yeah.
And then it should show you which ones have been deleted.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah. Try that, and
Yeah.
you'll see. I hundreds, I've videos are gone, like hundreds of them. And then my first channel was deleted maybe a year after the Olympics, or 2 years after the Olympics, and then I had to restart again. So.
Yeah. Well, that's the best thing to do is not to put anything on a pedestal. Basically, put too much,
Faith.
into it.
Faith. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta. Things like that will happen, and if you're.
So
if it's too important to you, it'll mess with you.
Of
right?
course.
I try to take a laid back approach to it as much as possible.
Okay, now let's talk about, like we talked about on the show here many times, the stagnation position, zombie nation position that Japan is in right now.
Yep.
And if we enter a stagnation, deflation, slightly deflationary period, but more stagnant, Japan, how are people going to jump in the market? Because in Tokyo, you could still buy something for under 200,000, right?
What are you talking about? Like a condo?
Or something like that,
Depends on where you are.
Right. Okay, I'm saying people I'm saying are traveling an hour to Toronto to go to work is what I'm saying. So, I mean, an hour out of Tokyo it's more reasonable. Our problem is here in the West. Our problem is the average house, if it stays stagnant at $700,000, $800,000, how is anyone going to get into the market locally?
Well, I was talking to somebody. Yesterday, and I was basically saying it's a trap. So the lending industry, the mortgage industry, the credit industry, it's set up so you can get into debt. So, $1 million house, just use a round number, $1 million house. If you buy $1 million house, no one buys $1 million house with $1 million to take on a mortgage, right? So now you're locked into this mortgage. If somebody actually had $1 million, what I was saying to this person is, if I had $1 million, I would go to where it costs $200,000 to buy a house, invest $800,000, and retire. It's a system to get you locked in, to turn you into a worker ant. So you've taken on this massive mortgage. So now you've got your nice house that's worth, $800,000, $1 million, whatever it is. But you got to work for the next 30 years to pay it off. So they've got you locked into the system. Can you imagine if the mortgage industry did not exist? Say you had to pay cash for your house. What would happen? Well, that was how it was, hundreds of years ago. And, what did people do? They could build their own house. They'd get their community together. They would raise a house.
Right.
So it was a completely different thing. Now, jump forward a couple hundred years, that wasn't that long ago. That was not that long ago. So now they've figured out an industry to inflate house prices to get you locked into a mortgage. And, I got to just say, I have mentioned that I'm not a real estate grouch, you know? That's what some people say, oh, you're just against real estate. No, most of the time, real estate is a fine thing to do, a fine thing to, I don't want to say invest in unless you're actually an investor, because the house you live in is less so of an investment, more of a necessity. But anyways, It's normally, a fine decision to buy a house. I just so happen to think, since I've created my channel, that we're in a topping period and it's the worst time to buy. Like at the top of the market. So any time after that first peak in Vancouver, where that first peak, the important part is the upward momentum is broken, right? That's a huge thing. So I've made videos about, bubbles popping and stuff. It's because I saw bubbles popping. I saw all these things that people would maybe shrug their shoulders at. But the upward momentum in Vancouver breaking was a big thing for me. That was a change in momentum. Same with the peak in Toronto a year later.
Yeah.
And then the second peak that we've been following down in Vancouver. So there's been a lot of stuff happening, but it just so happens that I think, and I don't think too many people would argue. They would argue about if this is a bubble, if it will crash. But if this was to be the top of the market, not too many people would argue that that would be a bad time to buy, because, it could take 10 years to recover. It could be Japan, and who knows when it's going to recover, right? So you are stuck in a mortgage. You're underwater from day one. As soon as you buy your house, you're underwater. You've got to pay closing costs. You've got to pay a lawyer. You've got to pay all these people. From day one, you move into your house, you're already underwater. You can't sell that house the next day and break even. You would lose money. So in a downward trend, you're getting worse and worse and worse off, or you're just treading water. So it's not the safest move to make, because if you lose your job or the economy tanks or you need to move or whatever other reason, you're stuck in that mortgage. Right. Unless you want to take the hit of selling, you're stuck in that house. Now, that's why I always tell people, sure, I'm not going to tell anybody not to buy, because everybody's situation is different. But I always say, make sure you aren't putting all your money into your down payment. If you're putting down 20%, make sure you've got a year's wages in the bank left over. Like, this is the reason why, 47% of people are $200 away from insolvency? How does that happen? Well, they aren't planning for the future. So I always say, make sure you've got a year's wages in the bank after you put down 20%.
Well, most Canadians are $400 or $300 away from insolvency. But Former Fist, let's backtrack here to the whole that first point you brought up was really good when you discussed instead of buying $1 million house, go buy a house for $200 large and then invest $800,000, right? That was good. And that's what I talk about when I'm going on Zillow in Florida, Texas, South Carolina, and showing people 7-bedroom homes with a pool for $230,000, and the property taxes are $900 a year, right? And that's what I do, that a lot to show that. And now let's fast track to where you discuss how people back in the days before financial institutions were basically taking a grip on the housing markets. It's the same. It's the same thing too with student debt. Before student loans became regulated, it was very inexpensive to go to university and college. It was very cheap to go to university and college until the governments regulated it and screwed everything up and just put tuitions through the roof. And then they had to create this demand, and there's all these jobs available. And then now, the other thing you said about building a house and people in the community, it was like back in the day, I still remember, like in 1984, 1985, if you owned a Mercedes back in the day in those years, you were considered the king of the crop. You know why? Because back in the day, you couldn't get financing from Mercedes. If you owned a Mercedes back in the day and you had a Corvette and all those cars, you were considered a real big shot. Now, everyone just finances everything up the wazoo and doesn't even look twice at what situation they're putting themselves in. Go ahead, talk.
Yeah, and that's where I'm going with. I think, again, I don't think there's going to be any catastrophe. I don't personally think there's going to be hyperinflation. I think there's going to be, if anything, deflation in some asset classes such as real estate, these overbought asset classes. And I think there's going to be a deleveraging. It just has to happen. If you've got people in car payments, they've just extended, like now you can get like 7-8 years to drag out your car payments. You've got just household debt through the roof. We're just going to have to go through a period.
7-year car payments are a nightmare because you automatically pay almost 3 years for free. Instead of pay the extra $20 a month and pay it off in 5 years instead of 7, And if you can afford the extra $100 a month, pay it off in 4 years instead of paying 1 year for free. That's how I see it.
Yeah, well, I mean, little story. I had a friend who bought a brand new F-150, and I told him not to. I told him not to, and basically what I said is, okay, he's a tradesperson. I said, all right, you already have a car. You don't need this truck. You want this truck. You already have a perfectly serviceable car. It wasn't even that bad. It was, not even a decade old. I said, rock that for as long as you can. Now, while you're waiting, take the money that you would have put towards that brand new F-150, put it in another bank account. Let that accumulate. You'll be able to buy a used F-150 cash, and you'll be in a way better position. But guess what?
He bought the truck. He went to the dealership and bought the truck.
And what happened? Found out the payments were too high, and now he's had to trade it in for an SUV. So, sometimes it pays off to listen to Formafist. Sometimes it takes a while to realize, but usually it works out the way I see it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's my view on things in general.
Yeah.
We could talk about Toronto being up and sales volume in Vancouver being up, but I'm not really. I don't really think about it that much. I think nothing about my thesis on what's going to happen has changed. If Toronto even makes new highs, it wouldn't even surprise me because, again, Vancouver made new highs. It blew past the first peak. Mm-hmm. So for Toronto to maybe make a new peak, even then, it doesn't rock my world. It isn't going to change what I think is going to happen. I think the clock is running out on it. It's all an inevitability. It's just a matter of when. I have fun predicting, but there's nothing that changes my belief that the thing is going to fall over. It's kind of like, you could argue about it, but you could say about the stock market. People say it's basic. Like when I say people, I'm talking about billionaires. Billionaire investors are saying, yeah, it's gonna happen. The timing is the tricky part. But I mean, if you can predict the real estate market, like people rag on Peter Schiff for being early. I mean, if you can predict that and see that, you got to give him a bit of credit.
Right. It's a trend.
I think it's basically just saying what everybody doesn't want to hear, which sucks. No one wants, like, what is it? 67% of Canadians own their home, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? Most people don't want to hear that the real estate market's going to go down. Now, most people don't care. When I tell my parents what their house is worth, they kind of shrug their shoulders. Oh, that's interesting. It's gone up 50% in the last 5 years. Oh, that's interesting. Because most people don't give a shit. They don't care what the house value is because they're living in it. They don't care.
Well, it's like myself. People keep telling me, "Oh, you went out to Merritt and bought a house." What do I care? The house goes to $0. I'm still up. Why? I'm actually making money. I have a business from home that's extremely successful, and this is my base. I lay my roots here. Raise my family here.
Yeah, most people don't care. Most people don't care. There is a very vocal minority that is invested in the market. And of course, they care a lot more. Like the people that are very vocal on your channel, probably in my channel, they're invested. Like this is a way of making money. Of course, I sympathize. If that's your way of making money and it's looking unstable, yeah, you're going to maybe get a bit irate and, call people names and stuff like that. But most people don't care. There is a very vocal minority that's actually investing in the market, and not even all of them. I have lots of people on my channel that are investing in the market, but they aren't mad, that they're they understand how it works. But there is a small minority that's very vocal. They're invested in the market. There's another group that's smaller that just they've put all their eggs into the real estate basket. They wouldn't necessarily be called investors, but what they are is they've put all their wealth into servicing the debt of their home.
Yeah.
And they're planning on cashing out on that. So you could call that an investor, but they're living in it. But they kind of hoped that they would put all their money into paying off their mortgage, put in all their money into a down payment, and that bet would pay off. So there's some of those that are a vocal minority that are kind of, kicking up dust. They're not happy about guys like us saying the market could fall.
Just an interruption here. HMRMDF, Hemorrhagef. Thank you for sending me $10 on Super Chat. I really appreciate that, and I will buy myself a coffee tomorrow morning. And guys, if you want to support this transmission, don't forget to support me on Patreon, guys. I think I have 18 Patreon supporters. So if you guys want to support my coffee habit, go ahead. I see that Foreman Fist also has a Patreon page, too. That's really good if you want to support him, too. And he rocks a video every couple of days, so he's always out there. He's always out and about doing stuff, right? So
well, I'm cutting down. I'm gonna cut way down. I'm gonna do like a quarterly report. I'm gonna do a video every 3 months now. I'm cutting way.
Why? I thought we were friends.
You've got the daily on lock.
Mm-hmm.
You've got that covered. I'm gonna do a quarterly report because I always tell people like I'm addicted to this stuff. Like I could almost like I don't want to use that word carelessly, but it's habitual. I check the headlines. I check the Facebook groups. I watch YouTube videos throughout the day. But I always tell people, the best way to look at the market is the widest view possible. So if you can, just check on the market every 3 months or every season or every quarter, because then you're actually seeing, like you get month to month, week to week, you're seeing these fluctuations, these anomalies, and you're going to get whiplash looking this way, that way. So I always tell people, but I've never followed my own advice. I've never said, okay, I'm just going to let, it's the whole, a watched pot never boils. It's kind of like you're just sitting there watching it, waiting for all these tiny little variations, changes, month to month changes. And I've decided to take my own advice, because I always tell people two things. And this is what I said in my last video. I said, it's best to look at things by the quarter, because then you can actually see a trend. You can't see a month to month change is not a trend. You see a quarter, maybe you can see a trend. Half year, that's a better trend. Year to year, that's an even better trend, seeing what's happening over a year. The other thing I say is, I personally would like to buy a house, but if things play out like I think they will, it's not going to be a good idea for a lot of people to buy for the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, another 700 days of waiting and checking, it's a bit much. So and that's at the soonest. Like, I wouldn't be excited to buy in a falling market. I think, you bought in Merritt. I don't think Merritt's going to go down much. It was never a bubble, right?
No.
So there are places to buy, but I'm talking about even where I am, right? It's gone up substantially in the last 5 years. I don't think it's going to be a good buy in Vancouver, Toronto, and the surrounding. Like, you've got your Kelownas and your Victorias and your Nanaimos that are in a bubble that followed those major centers. So I don't think it's going to be a good time to buy for, a solid 2 years if things play out like I think they are. And it could very, very, very easily be much, much longer that you're not buying in a falling market. Right. Because everybody knows, if you're, like I said earlier, if you're buying into a falling market, you're underwater from day one, and you're just getting more and more underwater. So unless you've got a super solid job and you've got savings in the bank after your down payment, you have to assume that risk. You have to acknowledge that risk. And, again, I tell people I'm in a unique situation, so I get a lot more flexibility to do this. I sympathize with people who have to rent. I mean, I know what rent is. Rent in my town is outrageous. I don't know how people, I do not judge people that buy into it, because it ends up being, I tell people to do the math, of course, figure out the math of renting versus owning, but I do not judge people for buying into a frothy market, because rent sucks in so many places, like Toronto and Vancouver. Rent sucks. I have
it's just not Toronto, Vancouver. It's like 100-mile radius around those areas is still.
Oh yeah, like it's because of the spillover. The spillover is real. Mm-hmm. Because in my town, I was looking in my town to rent a house, and to rent a house, like a 2-story house, it's expensive. Like, at the low end, I think a rancher is like $1,800, and then you're running up to like $2,400, and that's like Campbell River. It's not a big town. It's just how this thing's worked out. It's the rent has gone up just like the house prices.
Right.
And I mean, that's a function of the market. It makes sense.
Right.
But I really sympathize with people. Like, if you've got to rent, that sucks. So if you decide to buy, I can't judge, from
where I was living in
I
Vancouver, they were going to raise my rent to about $3,200 a month. And then I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to find a house a couple of hours away from town. And I did. And then my company that I had in Vancouver was doing well. And I said, what's a good time for me to sell my company? Because I could get out at the right time. I could walk away way ahead. So I bought my house first, settled down, and then opened up my little shop here in town. And then I started to see things from afar and say, okay, time to sell. So found someone to buy the company. They bought the company at what I was asking for, no questions asked. And now, I'm enjoying like my, like you said, buy a $200,000 house and invest to $800. That's what I did that, like like you said. And I believed that it was just, there wasn't bang for your buck in the real estate and what people are paying for. Because you look at what things cost in the United States of America in comparison to here, it's just absurd, especially in Sydney, what people are paying for a 1-bedroom. Are you serious? With no parking?
Well, yeah, it's the whole sustainability. Like, does it make sense in, say, a place like Vancouver? You look at what $1 million gets you, and it's like a teardown, depending on where you are. Does that make sense?
No.
Does it make sense?
That teardown in Kentucky is probably like 10 grand.
Yeah, in certain places, they'd give it to you. Like in Detroit, they'd give it to you.
Yeah.
But there's lots of different. See, this is the flip side of it is, and you don't hear about it because it's like reading reviews on a website or reviews on a product. The people who are pissed off about it are the ones that leave the reviews, so you get this bias, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're happy with the product, you don't bother reviewing it a lot of the times,
right?
Depending on the website. So there's a lot of people that cashed out of this market. They saw what was coming. They saw, oh, this Chinese guy is going to buy my house sight unseen, and I'm going to cash out. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of happy people in this market. But the thing is, it makes winners and losers. It doesn't bring everybody up. It creates the wealth gap is this whole thing that's happening, this wealth gap. But there's a lot of happy people that cashed out, that moved out of the country. I mean, they like, if your house doubled in 5 years, that's all in your pocket, no capital gains tax. A lot of people. And that's why places like that's why the spillover effect is a real thing. People on Vancouver Island, 25% of the buyers were from the Lower Mainland, and that, like in a place like Comox or Nanaimo or Campbell River, that's not including all the people that cashed out of Victoria, because everybody knows Victoria, right across the water from Vancouver, is also extremely expensive. So you had all these people cash out. Hey, you want to pay me double what I paid 5 years ago? Yeah, I'll go cash out. So it's made all these winners and all these losers,
Mm-hmm.
And the gap between them gets bigger and bigger. And that's all that's going to happen if this thing continues.
Right. And people are being forced out of their cities and moving to other cities. And you got places like Chatham, Ontario, all kinds of cities in Ontario that are blowing up in price and getting overvalued. Even here in Merritt, the price of housing went up quite a bit, actually, after I moved in. Like, not even 6 months after, there was somebody asking if I wanted to sell my house. I'm like, I just moved in,
Yeah,
and, everybody on my cul-de-sac, okay, Daniel, is from the coast, except one guy is from Kamloops.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. When I moved in, it was just me and my neighbor Mike. Another Mike beside me was from Vancouver. Then everybody started moving in over time in the last 3 years, and everyone that moved in was all from the coast. Every single one except one guy from Kamloops, and that's it.
So people were cashing out of Merritt.
Well, Merritt didn't really. It was old money in Merritt. It was old lumber mill workers.
Yeah, so you had this influx of people who were trying to find affordability.
Right.
From their perspective, they thought, "Oh, you're going to pay me, 20% more than it was worth 3 years ago. Sure, But where did they go?
A lot of them that I heard of. Some of them died off over time, and a lot of them moved to the Lower Mainland to live with their children.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them were older folks that raised their kids here in this town. And a lot of the homes that did sell, everyone's over 70, 65, 70, right? The house I'm in was built, I think, in 1984, and it's a custom build, right? It's got 4 en-suites, like 4 bedrooms with en-suites on them. Then I have 3 other bathrooms separate from the en-suite ones. And the house has just got balconies everywhere. It's huge, got windows everywhere. The guy customly built this home, and I gave him what he was asking. I didn't even downplay him. How much you want? 260. Here you go. No questions asked, no debates.
Yeah, well, that's another interesting dynamic is the baby boomer generation, and what's going to happen in this deleveraging period is going to be interesting. You're probably going to have a lot of people moving in with their parents.
Oh, yeah, I've been reading articles about that in Toronto, how people are either move to Winnipeg or move to Newfoundland or live with their parents, right? And
yeah, which is, again, the winners and losers. The thing about a cyclical market is it takes people out on the way up and on the way down. So unfortunately, a lot of those people that are going to move into their parents' house are people who are they lost what they had in the downturn. If they had just not bought into the market or not taken on the debt, they would have been all right, because they would have been able to take advantage of what's going to happen. Let
me rephrase that. I actually live with my mom. So my mom moved in with me. So it's so now I take care of my mom, right? Well, she's still 60, but you know what I mean, right? So
yeah.
So
I've got family doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's different. I didn't move back with my, yeah, you know what I mean? But yeah.
Well, I people think I'm joking, but like, if you can live with your family, just I'm talking about younger people. I tell people, I was never so wealthy. Like, I joke about living in my parents' basement. I don't live but when I lived with my parents in my early 20s, I was never so rich. I was pretty wild, but I was never so rich because, you get to save so much money. I tell people, put your pride in the back and just, live with your parents. You will save outrageous amounts of money, like disgusting amounts of money you will bank, and then throw that at a house and, then you'll be laughing, So like, people are saying, oh, I'm worried I might have to live with my parents. I mean, dude or dudette, just make the best of it. I mean, maybe again, I'm in a good situation. I like being around my parents. Some people can't stand it, but man, you save so much money. It's outrageous. Just move in with friends or whatever. Live lean, and it'll pay off. Because I think, again, if things play out like I think they are, you're going to be able to take advantage of that. Because what's going to happen in this deleveraging situation is the liquidity is going to go bye-bye.
Yes.
Banks aren't going to want to lend. So who's going to be the winners? The people who are cashed up.
That's
Cash
right.
buyers are going to be the ones. If you're hoping to get a house with a down payment, there is a good chance you might be out of luck.
Right.
I think you want to be cashed up. You want to be cashed up and be able to buy either all cash or with like a tiny little mortgage.
Yeah.
Because, if things play out like I think they will.
You could just move to Fort Worth, Texas, and buy a ranch with 40 acres of land for like 180 grand.
Yeah, well, to be perfectly honest, I'm because of the way I think this is going to play out, I think it's 50-50. I will buy in a different country. I won't be buying in Canada because I think the time that I'm going to want to buy is going to be like 5 years down the road. Maybe I'll come back then, but I think it's just crazy, and it's crazy now. Like, it doesn't make sense. The prices that are out there now don't make sense to me. I'm not going to buy in at those high prices, and I'm not going to want to buy as prices are falling, because I'm not going to want to watch my equity just get chewed away, and in the back of my mind knowing I thought this was going to happen. So honestly, it's like 50-50. There's other places in the world to buy that aren't in a bubble,
right.
that you can get a decent place for 200,000, a lot less,
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's not, again, that's maybe not an option for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Foreman Fist, we've been talking for 45 minutes, buddy. And I'm going to let you go. Any last words?
No, I think we said a lot. That's enough.
Okay, buddy.
Right.
We'll have you on the show again. Let me know if you want me to come on and talk with you anytime. Just let me know.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm gonna do the quarterly reports thing, so hopefully I'll get some interviews. It's just gonna be like one big video of all my thoughts of what's happened in the last 3 months, what's gonna happen in the next 3 months. Then hopefully I'll get you on and some other people,
anytime.
But people. You are churning out videos, and people have an appetite for it. So I commend your effort, and I encourage you to continue. Well, this is the thing. I know I don't need to tell you. I know you're going to do it either way. So we'll talk to you next time.
God bless, and thanks for coming on the show.
Right back at you.
All right, bye. So, guys, that's Daniel Formafist. Guys, please subscribe to his channel. I'll put it back in the link again in the discussion here. If you don't mind subscribing to his channel and seeing what he's got going down. And also, guys, don't forget, guys, that I actually have a good audience watching tonight. Don't forget, guys, to, if you can, Scarface. This is the channel here, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the main channel here, my main channel here. And Trends in the Housing Market, 349 watching. And if you want to throw me a tip in PayPal, go ahead. It's up top. If you want to follow me on Instagram, go ahead. I'll give you it's just family stuff on Instagram. It's just kind of just, hey, there it is. If you want to follow me on Instagram, don't be shy. And if you want to follow me on Patreon, please go ahead and follow me on Patreon. And I have 18 Patreon subscribers. I'm hoping to get 20 by Christmas. So if you want to buy me coffee for $1, $5 to become a captain, $10 for a consigliere, and if you want to join us on Patreon, and let's go to paste here. Please go ahead and support me on Patreon and buy me a coffee. I actually use my Patreon money to buy coffee. I really do. So if you want to support my coffee habit, I'm not lying. I'm just telling you straight up. If you want to buy me a coffee, go ahead, guys. And I'm really grateful. Guys, don't forget to join us on Mike in the Night. We have Mike in the Night right here on the channel. If you want to hear Building Wealth, this is a really good video. It's about building wealth, how to build wealth. I had a lot of good people on the show. Don't forget to join watch Mike in the Night before that. Secession with Western Canada wanting to leave. Mike in the Night here, civil unrest. Mike in the Night, elections in the air. Yeah, and if you want to dial back on trends in the housing market, here it is. All the trends in the housing market here, you guys, for you guys to watch on the channel. Can't read Market Talk. I got to do one soon. Morning Coffee with Mike. This is the money I make off Patreon, and that is the coffee that sponsors this. And housing crisis discussion. And guys, check out Argentina's new capital controls. Guys, this is a big deal, and we're talking about this on Mike in the Night because Argentina passed a law in their system, that a banking law or capital law, basically that you can't exchange more than $200 US per month. So you're going to see Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies shoot up because Argentinian citizens cannot convert their money to American dollars as a safe haven. So the capital controls right now in Argentina are under control, and they're doing $200 a month. $200 a month, they say. What are you going to do with $200 a month? You can't even, you know what I'm saying? And we got to get eBankU back on the show. I have a project for eBankU. I know he's listening. eBankU lives in Tokyo, Japan. You need to come up with a list for us. 10 top reasons why we should move to Japan. So eBankU, I have a project for you. I need you to come on Mike in the Night to do a 10-minute plug, if you can. And I need you to tell us 10 reasons why we should move to Japan. So, yeah. Yeah, we should do that. We should find out why we should move to Japan, because he left Vancouver and moved to Japan. And I would like to know 10 reasons why people should move to Japan. That's really nice, a nice thing to know. So guys, check out the channel, Game Store Business from Scratch, Living the Dream series. And lots going on the channel, lots of buzz going around. Lots of support from everybody. Share this video. And yeah, we got Stevie Stevens in the comments. We got Tignim in the comments. We got Elizabeth in the comments. We got Harlip McGee in the comments. Supreme Cannon, of course. David X. Xavier in the comments. We got Solid Exter, Patty Mon. We got eBank U, of course. Steve Stevens again. MK in the comments section. Owen, of course. There's so many people in the comments here. I want to thank everyone. Lots of love. God bless. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget Saturday night, 9 p.m. Western Seaboard time. Mike in the Night. See you then.